Oh, hello, hello. Um, are most people done? I know there's an inside the episode right after that I fast forwarded and watched. It was fine. It was fine, but I don't know. What are people thinking? What are people thinking? I have my beliefs. Pretty good. Um, the So I tweeted out my general impression of it, and I think that overall the episode it was very good. It just wasn't fun, and with with that there's a big problem. Like when people are looking for something that's fun, or when some people like this is supposed to be water cooler kind of stuff that people are gonna like talk about with their friends, talk about at work and things like that. But certain things don't pass for that. Like it's not like everybody's gonna sit around the water cooler and be like, oh, Schindler's List. Like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next. Oh, Sophie's Choice. There are things that are just downers. Um, so I think especially the middle of the episode is very solid. Especially the scene with the birth of or the the birth of Baylor and Emma Aaron is a pretty intense scene, and that was a pretty crazy scene that was a real gut punch for me, and it's hard for me to say that the episode was anything less than good based on that middle portion and that really powerful scene. Like if it were just the beginning and the end, I'd be like, yeah, it's all really mid. But that middle was so strong that I will say it's a really good episode. I just don't think it's fun episode. Like it's not something where I want to see more. It's not something where like I finish the episode and I'm like, what's gonna happen next? Like like every Game of Thrones episode was there was a cliffhanger where I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to watch the next episode. This is incredible. Or I can pick another show like Breaking Bad, where you finish an episode, you're like, oh, I just want to see the next one, or The Wire, I just want to see the next one. And so I think there was some serious problems with like not enough. Like I really do think they needed mushroom. Um, I think they needed some sort of comic relief. They needed something to pull people in. It was just so exhausting. Like it's very intense and exhausting. And I just who am I supposed to like side with and want to watch, Rhaenyra? Like Rhaenyra's fine, but um but yeah, here's the thing is like I kept thinking of the first episode of Game of Thrones and all the things that Game of Thrones did right. Like you think about that, think about how Game of Thrones began. North of the wall, and you've got that scene of the wall and the fantastical elements. You're like, "Oh my gosh, what world are we in?" And then, you're in this strange environment and then the zombies come, the ice zombies come, and it's so exciting like, oh my gosh, we've got this problem, we have these stakes. House of the Dragon begins with succession crisis. Like the younger cousin was chosen over the elder cousin because the younger cousin was male. That's just not in the same fucking ballpark. Like that's not gonna pull me in. Like it it's just plus no opening theme, no opening crawl. Like maybe they'll have that in the second episode, but give me my fucking theme song, give me a map, give me something. Like that was such a wonderful part of Game of Thrones was that opening theme and being in that. Um and so they started really poorly. Um but yeah, yeah. Juicy succession crisis. Like, yeah, just as you know, just as enthralling as ice zombies and like the end of the world and things like that. But yeah, we needed something like that, you know? Oh man. Man, you nitpicking. No, I'm not. I don't like. Do you understand the definition of nitpicking? Like nitpicking is me being like, there was a werewood south of the neck in King's Landing. Like that's nitpicking. Like I don't give a shit about nitpicking. Nitpicking is like Kristen Cole was Dornish. Like who gives a fuck? Like I don't care. I don't care about that. What I'm talking about is major structural issues. Like they started the episode with a voiceover and text. That's like everyone knows in film, like that's fucking murder. You don't fucking do that. Don't start anything with reading. Like don't do it. Like it's like film school 101. Don't start with voiceovers and reading. Fucking start with action. Start with something that pulls you in. Like that's the big thing. You have to start with a hook. You've got to fucking hook people. And you've got to start with a character that does something immediately where you're like, oh, like I want to keep watching because this person is the protagonist and this person is engaging. Like their scene with Rhaenyra, like landing in on her dragon, was okay, but I'm not really like pulled in by that, you know? And so there was some serious pacing. Hello.
Preston, how can you say you like my Philip Seymour Hoffman picture?
Yes. Sorry, I took it away so quickly.
Faked Philip Seymour Hoffman just for this. Like they're really going balls to and they made him a Stark too. That's crazy. That's these fucking guys. That $10 million budget per episode. Huh? That's just, fuck you, Disney. We got Philip Seymour Hoffman. Who do you got? Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Also, how can you sit there and say you don't start with reading? Star Wars starts with reading.
Yeah, but I'm Star Wars started with like an incredible like song, like music coming in. You're not thrilled by the reading at the beginning of Star Wars. No one's sitting there going, you know what's great about Star Wars? That fucking reading that I had to do at the beginning. Like no, like when people are like, what's great about Star Wars? You start in with this dun 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 dun, dun, you have this incredible score. Did I have an incredible score with Star? Like there was no hook. That's the thing is they couldn't get new dragon music. Of course they could have. By
the way, guys, thanks to shout out to HBO for giving us a review copy ahead of time. We're able to do the podcast. It's up on Preston's Patreon. If you're a patron, go definitely check it out for more of a measured approach. But did you really rewatch it again? Like just now?
I did. I wanted to be, it's Film School 101. Instead, we got the Council of 101, right? Am I right,
people? This fucking guy. I'm going to have to leave you, by the way, like a minute. I'm going to put this fucking...
No, you got to get to work. I understand.
Yeah. It's fucking... But there was no next time on House of the Dragon. It was just like in the weeks ahead.
Oh, okay.
Type of deal. So
yeah, they must have not released that until the hour was up or something because it wasn't there.
No, they've always done that. Yeah, okay. So it's fine. Hopefully YouTube doesn't be like it. But yeah, did you catch the asshole? By the way,
no. I like this. Danny will be coming in 172 years. You weren't hooked. I mean, they got the math wrong in case. But not to nitpick.
I'm pretty sure they didn't get the math wrong, considering they aged up Daenerys in the show.
No, they got the math wrong because they didn't. They got the math wrong because they aged up Daenerys in the show. Yeah, the 172 years is based on Book Daenerys' birthday. Yeah, so sorry. But it's like I don't care. Like who cares? They got the numbers wrong. Who knows about these years and everything? I don't know if we ever got like there are some documents here and there in Game of Thrones. Like if you pause and focus in, but they never spoke the year in Game of Thrones, did they?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
One of the things, by the way, I was talking to someone about this. One of the things people don't really understand is that someone was like, did it feel like George was writing this? Like, did it feel like early Thrones? Like, yeah, I felt like George was writing this, but that's not necessarily a good thing because
Oh yeah.
what George is more concerned about is whether they get Daemon Targaryen's shoe size correct. He's not concerned with entertainment of casual viewers, which is important. He's not concerned with any of
Yeah, I
that.
mean, on the one hand, I would say like, yeah, they moved around a lot of dates and everything, but they were for the most part pretty faithful to the source material, um, which I don't care about because the source material sucks. But like the thing that they left out from the source material that I think was essential was humor. And
Yeah.
like they needed, they needed mushroom. We talked about this in the podcast we did, but they needed mushroom. They needed some sort of comic relief to come in and break the tension. Um, it's just, like, I never thought that I'd be like, oh, we needed mushroom. No, like I finished the episode. I'm like, no, we definitely needed fucking mushroom, man. It's just we needed some sort of humor. Like there weren't any jokes. Like the jokes was like Daemon Targaryen like making some snide comments to Otto Hightower, and that's the best we got, right?
Yeah, yeah. I guess, yeah.
Carmine made this joke too. What are you talking about? George's right on CBS's Beauty and the Beast. Like,
Yeah, like who the fuck? There's one more reference I wanted to jot in here
mm,
because Stephen King did the same thing. Stephen King saw
yeah,
Stanley Kubrick's The Shining and was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Nah, that's not how I envisioned it," and he did it, and it was fucking boring. Like nothing
yeah.
happened. It's exactly how he wanted. He had complete control, and no, novel writers do not make good television writers. It's a whole different thing.
It's funny that I finished the episode, which like I say, like I think it's good. I don't think it's fun. And when you're talking about the fate of HBO and an entire cinematic universe that they're trying to push on something, it better be fucking fun. Like when you think of like the Avengers is the thing that the Marvel universe was hinging on. That was a fucking fun movie. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't have this be the thing that you're hinging everything on. It's yeah, it needed to be lighter. Like it was good. It was like I say, the middle was so good, but it was just too, like I was exhausted by the end. I was just ready to fucking kill myself. Um, it's just like I'm not sitting there going, what's gonna happen next? Like as these people
Someone
like
in my server was like, "Yeah, they're really fucking each other up in the tourney. Isn't this? Aren't these like a foul? Like, don't you get
yeah.
disqualified for some of this?
Why aren't I
Simping
killing
me."
other knights after they lost the tourney? Are they Lord's sons? They all start trying to start a war out there. It was silly. In fact, like even in the book of A Game of Thrones, I think George went too far with the treatment of Sir Hugh. So like when Sir Hugh dies at the tourney, they just kind of go out there and they like shovel some sand over his blood, and then they continue the tourney. And at least though, like it affects Sansa and certainly affects Ned. And so like in his head, he's like, what the fuck? Like somebody died. And that's an important part of the plot. And he like blames the mountain for it. And that's a big deal. Um, but even then I'm like, come on, this is a highborn person dying at a tourney. You'd think they'd at least delay something 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Like it's a big deal. Um, Here like three people die in like quick succession of like just having their at least Sir Hugh died as an accident, right? Like that was an accident. Um, but
It's not that just three people died. One guy lost, and this is what we actually saw in Game of Thrones with
yeah,
Loras and the Mountain. One guy lost, so he gets up, gets pissed, and like tries
Right.
to sneak attack the other guy. So
Yeah, like
yeah,
in the a hedge knight kills Beric Dondarrion's horse and is disqualified in a Game of Thrones, and everyone's like, "Ooh, foul!" Yeah, you can't just like there were like just heads getting bashed in. Like, what the hell? Like, what? Like that is just kind of over the top. It was over, but I said the same thing about like Daenerys's wedding. Like, you can't have that many people dying at a Dothraki wedding. Like, I understand you want to make Dothraki seem savage and everything, but like, you just can't have that many people dying. Like, realistically.
Preston, stop it. Hard disagree, man. Like a Dothraki without at least 3 deaths is an adult. Come on, you know this.
Yeah. Will Chad, Brandon, and Sweet Robin be reviewing it? Of course they will. Okay, we're gonna have a review, but it's
Are we gonna have an unserious Q&A?
we'll see how I feel. I mean, we're at least gonna have Chad, Brandon, and Sweet Robin, but it's like, seriously, like, shout out to the Knight Malister who got his head caved in. Could you imagine, like realistically, like a highborn house Malister had a highborn person like just had their heads bashed in by somebody.
And Stark. There was a Stark guy who got it too.
Yeah, yeah. Preston, is Otto's son alive or not? I think he should be. Gawain Hightower, who they made him the eldest son. He's the youngest son in the Rogue Prince, Fire and Blood. He does stuff in the war, so I think they're gonna keep him because they named him, and I was like, oh, Gawain Hightower, but I don't think he died. But had he died, I think Otto Hightower would be and Allison would be really hating on Daemon, and they would have focused on that hatred more. That his son was killed. Do you think House of the Dragon tanking will improve the odds of getting Winds of Winter, or will success make him more giddy about his IP and improve progress? I think we're going to see some serious, like, realistically, I think we're going to have some serious problems here. Like, but I don't know if it's a problem enough to get House of the Dragon canceled for second season. Like, I think if my prediction is that the audience will watch this, they're going to have mixed review. They're going to have mixed reactions. I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, this isn't fun, and why should I tune in next week? Maybe some people are going to be like, oh, it was really, really good, you should watch it. But that's the fact that we're going to have mixed reception means the ratings are not going to be great. The ratings are probably going to be okay, but they're not going to be fantastic. This is not the next Game of Thrones. Like, people are not going to be tuning in like Game of Thrones. Let's be honest. Like, no one is even if you say that this was a great episode, no one's going to say it's better than fucking Game of Thrones like season 1, 2, or 3.
I've already put out my non-spoiler review. I have idiots in the comment section already saying that. Wait till you put yours out. They're already saying that. Maybe
there'll be a few, but I'm saying it's going to be a wash, right? Like there's going to be enough people saying that it wasn't great, or that, they're just not excited about the next episode. So it's just I just don't see that. Now, I don't think it's going to be like low enough to cancel a second season. I think they're going to go forward. And so, like, will it improve the odds of getting the Winds of Winter? Not in the short term, maybe in the long term. Like, if it goes only 2 seasons instead of 3 or 4. But I think what we're going to see is a scaling back of the extended universe. Because there's just I just can't see people like watching this, which is exhausting. It's an exhausting episode. It was good, but exhausting. Like, do I watch this and go, oh, I really want to see E.T.? Do I watch this and say, like, oh, I want to see Nymeria? Like, no, I watch this and I'm like, oh God, like, I feel really bad for women that birthed kids in the Middle Ages. Like, that's fucking... Oh my gosh. But This is a really good point. Preston, do you think they're going to focus at least a little on the Starks? It looks like no, and I think it's a big fucking mistake. I was really expecting a Stark B plot where there were some other characters from around the world. And that was one of the cool things about Game of Thrones, is that the minute you're tired of one plot that you don't like, you've got another plot that you can jump to. You know, like if you're bored of Sansa worrying about Joffrey, it doesn't matter, because in the next scene we're going to be across the narrow sea with Daenerys. And if you don't like Daenerys and you find her annoying, it doesn't matter, because we're going to be with Ned, like in the next scene, right? Here, there's no B plots. Like there's nothing. There's no one to like jump to.
Well, to be fair, man, half the cast has not been introduced yet. I would argue a good 2/3 of the cast are still coming in. Rhaenyra's children, Alicent's children, some of Daemon's allies. I think they might include the Starks on some level, but I agree with you. It felt weird not jumping from Essos and then to the north and then to, you know,
to just like explore this world that we're in. Instead, we have a lot of characters with the same hair color and the same personality. Like, you know, no one's really that extreme in their personality except for Daemon and Otto. Like, I didn't feel like I got to know anybody. Everybody just seemed like a regular person. Like, you know, gonna make Chad African American just for the LOLs? No, I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal. The thing is, like, you know, you guys ever like seen stage plays, right? You know, and we don't really care like when people of different ethnicities and races like are in stage plays. Like it's just or when people watch Bridgerton, you know, it's just in there. People are just there. I don't think it's that big of a deal, like one way or the other. Like I don't know why people make such a big deal out of it. Like everybody's attractive. Is that realistic? No. Everybody has good teeth. Is that realistic? No. Like
have you come around on Daemon being attractive? Matt Smith, finally pretty.
It's fun. Like, I mean, Daemon, like he does a fucking great job. Like I can't, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. Like, yeah, I made my comments before about how he's a funny looking guy, and he's a funny looking guy, and it's really, and him like making a weird grimacing faces while you know, having doggy style sex with Massaria is definitely some weirdness, you know, but whatever. Like that doesn't make or break the episode. I'm talking about the big strokes. Like I don't like on these things. Like I don't like when we're making fun of like the later seasons of Game of Thrones. Those were all kind of symptoms of a bigger problem. You know, when you have these like huge plot holes and people jumping around, you're just kind of realizing that you're not caring about the plot. Like, I don't really care that they messed up the date at the beginning and said 172 years before Daenerys, and that doesn't make sense. Like, those are like small things, like, or even that they called Viserys king of the Rhoynar, which, you know, you're like, okay, like, or Kristen Cole being Dornish, like, these are all small things. Like, I'm talking about like major like structural problems, like. We didn't get to explore how like large and interesting the world was. There was no fun. There was no comic relief. There was no hook. There were no stakes. There were no like characters that I really connected with that I wanted to see more of, except for maybe Daemon. Like, you know, people say like, oh, you know, I read reviews that Daemon steals the show, and it's like, well, yeah, because there's not much competition there. There's not much competition on who's going to be like the character that steals the show. They glossed over much of the juicy political material for the sake of butchery. Night of the City Watch, lethal melee, straight up murdering Emma for the sake of the baby. Only the second and a half looked like World of Ice and Fire. Yeah. I mean, they tried to throw in shock stuff like testicles on a stump and people getting their hands cut off and brothel scenes of people fucking. That was all there, but it all seemed kind of background. It didn't like add anything to me. I understand it's supposed to add something to the characters of Masari and Daemon, but it's weird. Like when we saw the debauchery in Game of Thrones, it all kind of fed into the debauchery of Tyrion or the debauchery of Littlefinger. And I guess we're supposed to think the same thing with Daemon, but I don't know. It just didn't, I don't know. It was fine. It was fine. The series actor was amazing. I think all the actors were amazing. I don't think any of the actors were weak. They were all great actors. They all did their best. I thought Emma Aaron was fantastic. I thought Rhaenyra was good. I thought Alicent was good. I thought Otto was good. I thought Daemon was good. I loved them. Like, they were all great. They all did their job. I just think that there was, and like I say, I think it was a great episode. I think it lacked what it needed to be a blockbuster. Everyone had bad wigs. Yeah. I mean, they were bad wigs in Game of Thrones too, I suppose. A call who can't meme is no call. That's also the funny thing, right? Like, it's like you don't have those really like interesting scenes where you have like Khal Drogo like coming in like this completely odd foreign character that's like bizarre that pulls us in. We're not exploring new territory. We're not adventuring with the characters. Maybe there's just not a sense of adventure. Like what's the how I would have structured the episode is I probably would have opened with a like Viserys having a dream. Like I would have been in his mind and like showing his dream. And then we would have at least been like, well, whoa, what's going on with that? That would have been at least my hook. I would have had a B story with Starks. I would have had a B story somewhere else. I would have added fucking Dornish. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, add somebody. Add like jump across the narrow sea to the Disputed Lands. Somewhere that's something interesting. A character in the Disputed Lands. I would have had multiple locations. I would have added Mushroom. I would have added more comic relief. And then near the end, I would have ended on a cliffhanger. Like, I would have ended with Matt Smith, like, going in to at least steal the dragon egg. And I would have cut the episode there. Something to bring people back in. But instead of, like, I commented this with Carmine, like it felt like this was the end of a season where characters are going off their separate ways and there's all of this change. Rhaenyra on the throne and Daemon on a dragon flying off. But I don't know. In the Worlds of Ice and Fire, it almost says that Rhaegar sought Lyanna due to the raging winter. With no dragons, he may have sought to appease the White Walkers with a stark Targ air. Yeah, who knows? I mean, it sounds like to me that Rhaegar was trying to birth a special prophecy baby, and that he was, trying to do everything the same as like Aryan Brightflame. I don't think there's necessarily much difference. Like, willing to leave his wife and kidnap somebody and bring her to a tower in the middle of nowhere and stuff like that. Influenced by Summerhall and returning to Summerhall and being depressed on it. I think it was as simple as that. Just that he wanted to birth a dragon again. I don't know if, it was as far as he knew the White Walkers or the others existed and that he thought he could actually he'd treat with them and things like that. Man, Maester Gildan got everything right. Well, I'm trying to actually think of like thematically, what were the big differences? They certainly leaned into Massaria actually being a sex worker rather than being a dancer. And so they made her a madam, which changes her a bit. Like now she has organization. She's a little finger, kind of stuff. And then we've got. I do kind of feel like there's still Maester conspiracy potential. So we definitely see the Maesters getting along with Otto. They've leaned into that. They introduced the Hightowers as defenders of Old Town and the Citadel. So they've definitely leaned into the fact that there's a Hightower Maester conspiracy. I think that's definitely going to be part of it. They left some ambiguity here and there. Like they definitely left ambiguity with the heir for the day thing, where we're not really sure how Damon says it. Like, does he say like heir for a day, or, did somebody else make the joke and he just kind of, he shrugs or whatever. We saw that he was emotionally torn. And so I think they did I kind of liked that ambiguity. I know Carmine was thought they revealed even too much. But
about what?
With the heir for the day ambiguity.
Oh,
you thought they revealed too much. I appreciated that they had some ambiguity. Yeah. Like this. Why didn't the Targs do more to support the Night's Watch of the North if they knew about the prophecy? Because of plot holes. Because of retroactive writing. We also don't know if maybe the Night's Watch is like fucking booming during this period. We have no idea. There might be a line in the books about how many Night's Watch were in the past at some point and how it had been reduced to like 300. But I guess it's like 600 actually.
This is also, to what Wisdom Minari says here, this is not really a plot hole. It's actually a great way, because Rhaenyra is probably the last person who knows about this White Walker prophecy, and maybe they do support the Night's Watch. But after she eventually, after she goes down, then
she
the Night's
never
Watch
passes the prophecy. It could be that Rhaenyra never passes the prophecy on to Aegon the Third, and so she doesn't.
The Dance of Dragons fucks over the Night's Watch along with the Targaryen dynasty with the dragons. So,
right. Like the prophecy gets lost because people died. Of course, Rhaenyra was stupid not telling it. Like, why tell just your heir? Why not tell everybody? But like, it could be that Rhaenyra saw Jace as her heir and not Aegon the Third, and so she didn't pass the prophecy on to Aegon the Third. She didn't tell him about it. But she could have, she could have just told Aegon the Third about it. It's kind of important, but
so it's not a plot hole yet.
It's not a plot hole yet. It's true. We'll see what happens. Because it may be that she saw Jace as her heir, being the eldest son. Aegon the Third is down the list, and so she didn't tell Aegon the Third. Do you think season 1 will end with Storm's End situation or Blood and Cheese? This is where Carmine and I disagree. If I were planning it, I would end at Storm's End and have that battle be the climax. Carmine thinks that Blood and Cheese is a little more...
I'll tell you why Blood and Cheese. Because Game of Thrones and Ryan Condal better be smart about this. He better fucking do this. Game of Thrones had the tradition of the dreaded episode 9. That's the episode you're like, oh shit, here we go. Something's going down. every ninth episode. The penultimate episode was that one episode where crazy shit happened. What's the craziest shit that can happen in the first season? Blood and cheese. You can't, by your estimation, if Storm's End happens at episode 10 and that's it, is Blood and Cheese really going to happen episode 1 of season 2? That's too much insanity right off the bat. You got to save some of that. You got to
right, but you're presupposing that Ryan Condal has the pacing sense of D&D.
That's a good point. That's
like D&D, say what you will about them, okay? And they have a lot of fucking flaws, but they knew how to fucking pace. They knew how to pace an episode, and they knew how to pace a season. I'll grant them that.
That's true.
Though, they have a lot of flaws everywhere else.
This is why I'm wondering if Ryan Condal is really at is he really at the helm of this, or is he like trying to write something and he's calling George every time he writes something down and making sure it's cool with George? Because
too much too much reverence, too much, you gotta at some point like be a leader and just be like, no, you know what, this is what we're gonna go to because this is better. They played Danny's Breaker of Chains theme during the A Song of Ice and Fire speech. Oh, did they? I see a lot of people like really pay attention to these musical themes, and I always miss them, like when people like so apparently in the first episode of Game of Thrones there is a Baratheon theme that plays when Robert like arrives at Winterfell, and when in season 8 where Jon and Dany arrive at Winterfell, they play that same theme again because they want to parallel the previous theme. But everybody's like, but that's the Baratheon theme, Like for someone like me, I don't pay attention to that, so I'm just like, oh, they're playing music and it sounds.
I don't think it's
nice.
The Baratheon thing. I think it's just called the King's Arrival. I mean, I heard other people complaining about it. I have no idea if it's the Baratheon theme or King's Arrival theme. I mean, but they some people were angry about it. But I just listened to it and I'm like, does the song sound appropriate? Okay, it sounds all right. The music sounded fine. I had no problem with any of the music, but I was expecting new music. I wanted that opening theme with a new theme song with some new music that I could hum along to. Next week.
Maybe.
That'd be good.
I mean, it's true that like often pilots don't have an opening, and then the second episode has a very opening. I don't know if you like the new Pope, the Jude Law series had this really cool opening. And it only appeared in like the second episode, and I was like, "Where does this come from?"
Did Westworld pilot have an opening?
That's a good question. I want to say yes,
because I really like the Westworld pilot. I thought that was I'm thinking back to like pilots that I really enjoyed.
Westworld pilot is a great pilot. Great pilot. Phenomenal pilot. When I say like feels like this is adventure, a huge world that you're exploring, like it ends in a cliffhanger where I want to see more. It's not that episode. It's not that the pilot didn't have downtime. It certainly had downtime, but like, what a great pilot. Or like how we talk about like Raised by Wolves, like is the exact opposite of this, where I'm like, Raised by Wolves isn't necessarily great or perfect, but it's so much fun. It's so much fucking fun. Every episode, I'm just like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And I end the episode wanting to see the next one. It's bonkers. Even when I say Bad Westworld 2, like Westworld Season 2 or Bad Westworld Season 3, I at least like was having fun, and I ended those episodes like wanting to see the next one. That's my big problem here. We didn't get an intro scene. Anyone notice? I definitely noticed. Also, at the end, the Game of Thrones song seemed to have lyrics, and I didn't know if like the Game of Thrones theme song had lyrics. They could do House of the Dragon up to Summerhall and then get Duncan Egg. House of the Dragon is not going to make it that far. There's no way it's going to make it that far.
Stop it. By the way, it's fair to say that you have a fairly negative opinion on the pilot. Glidus tweeted out that what did he say? He just tweeted out. I just saw it. Glidus tweeted out breaking news. It's pretty good. So I'm wondering if he's gonna like stop by here for a minute.
It's fun. I mean, like I said, like I keep having to say, like it's good. It's not, but it's not what you wanted. Like let's say you're craving a cheeseburger and you go and you get like really great fried chicken. Like yeah, and then somebody's like, "Oh, how was that burger?" And you're like, "Well, it was a really delicious piece of fried chicken." Like it's not the thing that like it's not what it's not what they needed. You know? It's this was like very serious, guttural, in your face drama. You know, it was not adventure. It was not a big sprawling story with a lot of interesting, colorful characters. It was a very drab, dour drama.
A burger with no cheese, just what someone wrote.
Blood with no cheese.
No, a burger with no cheese, but sure that.
Blood with no cheese, a burger with no cheese. Are we getting gay Rhaenyra and Allison? Because I'm getting some major vibes from that they're falling out as a result of unrequited love. You know, normally I'd be like, if it weren't for the source material talking about like Dreamfire Rhaena flying with her female friend, I wouldn't have thought about it. You know, I would have just been like, they're besties. It's tough though, because it's like, you know, it's two attractive young women. And so instantly you're like, yeah, you instantly like sexualize them because they're attractive young women, you know? So, you know, you see these two besties and you're instantly like, going to think about that. I don't necessarily think they were trying to go for that. I think they were just really trying to go for besties, which is not like, it's not something from the source material at all. I don't think it takes anything away. It probably adds stuff. So we'll see how the besties thing works, but I'm fine with them making them besties. Why not add something in there. We could have had a parallel plot of the three daughters versus Volantis. Watch them buff before the Rogue Prince and Corlys show up and clean house. Also, Smoking Man, Maesters. Absolutely. Like, I would have made it a more sprawling story where I would have had a character. I would have had like a Lyseni character in the you know, over in Lyce, like preparing to go to war, and him like seeing what his commander is like. And so then we would have this like other character that we cared about, who was about to go to war and be on the other side against like Daemon and Corlys. Like that would have been interesting. And then I would have added a character maybe at the Citadel who's like hearing about this Maester stuff. And then I would have added a Stark plot. I mean, maybe it would have been too much, and people would have been like, well, how are we going to fit in these scenes of Daemon chopping off hands and fucking bitches doggy style in front of people? Like it, you know, maybe we wouldn't have been able to have that, but like I would have added more characters in different locations, and then been across the map. You know, you'd be then you could fly. You could be like King's Landing, to the Winterfell, down to Lyce, across the Narrow Sea, like that would have been fucking great. Like, would have been fucking great. Oh man. See, this is the thing, like talking about it more, I'm like talking it down. Like it was fucking good. It was just who had the best acting in this episode?
Viserys, hands down.
He definitely was given the most opportunity. He was given the subtlety. Like he had a lot of different scenes that he had to pull off, where he showed his acting range.
When he said like, I've done nothing but defend it, like you can feel his frustration. Yeah. Very good.
But even in the start, like with no voice, with no dialogue or anything, you see the relief on Viserys's face when he's chosen as king, but then at the same time, like anxiety, like he just shows that on his face. And then, you get these like his awkward small council scenes where he's trying to ignore these serious issues from Corlys and make jokes and be lighthearted, and then transitioning into like his scenes with Emma Aaron, adding a whole bunch, like adding an actual love dynamic between them, which is not in the source material at all, because Emma Aaron was married, was a child married to him, and he probably didn't care about her that much. I mean, maybe he cared some and felt guilty to become an alcoholic, but we don't have any hint that he cared about Emma Aaron. But in the show, they've added this real affection, and then the pain that he had, like the pain and the scene with the birthing, which is pretty intense, and then the anger towards his brother and all of that. Yeah, I'd say Viserys did the best job. Not that I thought that like Matt Smith was bad. Matt Smith was, I would say, coming close second. He pulled off a lot of
Matt
range.
Smith turned up his character. Have you ever seen The Crown?
I have not.
He's in The Crown, and the Daemon is essentially his character from The Crown, but cranked to an 11. So Spinal Tap reference for the audience. But it's cranked up to an 11, and he can actually go out and do all the things he wants to do.
By the way, just a side note. So people commonly use that term, crank it up to 11, to mean like kick it into overdrive. But it's actually misusing the scene, because the whole joke of the scene is that 10 is the same as 11. Like, that's the whole joke.
You know what I need? This guy over here.
Like, you're cranking it up to 11, but it doesn't matter because it's just 10. They've just relabeled it. Like,
there's one guy here who was trying to call you out, and he's unfortunately he's buried. He made an interesting point. He says Preston is getting on the case of this episode. What did he say? He goes, Preston's getting on this episode because Preston says this episode needed everything he ripped seasons 5 through 8 for, and he goes, PJ does 8 videos for hours on one page of a book, yet says the TV show is bad for having 2 lines of text.
See, this is this thing where people are like imagine you go in, you get more analogies. You go in and you get something has too little salt, and then you say, oh man, can you add more salt to this? And then they fucking dump salt in it, and now it's just like swimming in salt. And they're like, you asked for salt, you fucking hypocrite. No, like there's fucking right balances of stuff, right? Like, so when I say like, oh, what I was ripping seasons 5 to 8 about, I was ripping 5 to 8 about nonsensical plots and like wasting time and having things not come together, like introducing threads and not having them come together. I don't know if I would really like rip the seasons, like the things that I appreciated, but like if I were to name things good about seasons like 5 through 8 and D&D in general, is the fact that they're masters at pacing. They really know how to make an entertaining episode. Some stuff is stupid, but like it's never boring. Like, I'll grant them that. Like, it's never boring. Like, even their fucking awkward time-wasting scenes where people are, like, saying nothing while looking awkward at each other were at least entertaining. Arya running through the streets of Bravos having miraculously healed a gut stabbing is like, yeah, that's stupid, but it's entertaining. So I don't really think that that's what's going on. But even if I were criticizing the show for something that seasons 5 and 8 did, like, I would say that there's balances, just like there's balance in the amount of salt you have, Now, as for like criticizing the show for doing something that I am doing in my videos, that's completely different because it's a completely different product and it's a completely different audience. You know, like I'm like my videos are providing like a whole bunch of analysis and information that to people. It's more about information than it is entertainment. Like the TV show is more about entertainment than information. So it's they're different products for a different audience. And like I say, this is a fucking great. Like I say, I keep saying this. It's a great episode for the wrong audience. It's the wrong product. It's the wrong product. They created something great that is wrong.
They created something great for the book fans, but not the casuals.
Are there any fans of Fire and Blood? I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Fans of Ice and Fire coming over to Fire and Blood, sure, but
I guess. I mean, I don't know who it was for. I don't know who this is for. The Maester let that baby choke. Maybe. I definitely made that same thought. But Maester conspiracy, letting that kid die. I definitely had that thought that the Maesters let that kid die. How are the time jumps going to work in season 1? So from what I've heard, the time jumps in between episodes, we're going to have either months pass or years pass. And it's from some of the reviews I read. So some of the reviewers got episodes 1 through 6, like all at once, and they fucking binged them. And they sort of said it was somewhat confusing and jarring to go like between some episodes only months pass and then other episodes many years pass. And that's a big kind of jarring thing. So we'll see how it works. But that's essentially it. We know that essentially next episode is going to be dealing with a great hunt, which might take place like several months later. We know that there's going to be the egg incident, which will probably be. We know that Daemon is on Dragonstone 6 months in the book, so maybe they'll have him there several months. And then the war. Then the third episode is War in the Stepstones. The War in the Stepstones takes place over many years, so it might be some jumps like that between episodes that he's been warring for years. They might which character do you think is a dark horse for best character in the series? My money is Crab Feeder. We'll see. It just can Crab Feeder really be in more than 1 or 2 episodes? I don't know. But and he's wearing a mask, which is too bad. So, getting in here late, but I thought it was excellent. Is Preston positive or negative on it? I'm mixed. Like I'm mixed. I'm saying it's like a great episode for the wrong audience. It was great, but not fun, and that's the problem. I didn't like the Jerry Springer style reveal at Council of 101. A bit messed up for ratings, if you ask me. Viserys, you are the heir. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there could be another way around it. Like, don't they eventually have to like read the tallies and release it at some point? Having everybody up on stage like that is a little ridiculous. So that everybody gets to see your reactions. Zoom in.
I'm gonna channel my inner Preston here and nitpick that. That's Murray, not Jerry Springer. You're wrong. It's Murray.
You're right. You're right. Povich. You're right. That's Maury Povich. Yeah. I find your products entertaining. No, and that's everything can be entertaining. Like if you're going in looking for information, like they're gonna be entertaining. But it's just what you kind of going in for. Like imagine if you go to see a romantic comedy and then someone shows you Schindler's List. Like you're gonna be
what?
Like they showed you something great. They showed you probably something that was better than whatever shit fucking romantic comedy.
That's fair. You know what? That's that's fair. Okay, that's fair.
Right? Like what we wanted was a swashbuckling adventure show. With some ups and downs, but instead we got a really fucking serious show. Voice is going already. All right, I need to stop screaming and be a little more chill. Maybe be one of those people that's like, hey everybody, we're gonna do the podcast now, and we're gonna bring in all these different people, and I'm here with Carmine from RedTeamReview. Then I can save my voice and not have it go out all the time.
Who does this? Who is the person that does this that you're imitating here?
All sorts of radio personalities. Radio personalities try to do this really deep, really bassy, deep voice because it's supposed to sound better on the air and all of that. And maybe it saves their voice, because every time I do my live streams, I lose my voice, and then I can't do videos. I can't record because my voice is gone for half a day. Okay, I wish Damon had denied the air for a day, and the king said that he didn't believe him. That would have worked. I would have liked that. Somebody else said that maybe the air for the day actually was out of Masaria's mouth, and that he was protecting Masaria, and that Masaria would have been killed
that's a good one.
Yeah, but we'd eventually have to flash back to that. I think that in the end we will never come back to it. I think that the scene is past. The scene is past. Okay. Preston ASMR. It's true. It's probably better than my regular yelping voice. I always joke that in real life, like I have an asshole voice where you just kind of, based on how I say something, like I just sound like I'm an asshole, Well, some people have nice guy voices, You can or put on nice guy voices. Like George himself puts on these fake somewhat muppety voice that tries to make him seem like a nice guy. Well, I'm George R. Martin. You're like, that's not your real voice, dude. You're trying to sound nice. Preston, I saw your name in the credits as consulting producer, crediting the Dragonless Ambitions YouTube vids. Congrats. What? That would be funny. No. If that were but we'll see how much Maester conspiracy stuff in there. I do think that nice person with a mansplainer sound. Yeah, if I knew what a good voice sounded like, I would have put one on like earlier in life. But I just don't. What's the best voice to have as a human being? We just kind of go with the one that we future Sheldon. Can people someone tell me if this channel is spoiler free? I'm spoiler heavy, man. That's all I talk about is spoilers. That Damon brothel scene was so stiff.
By the way, I tweeted this out and I showed Preston, of course. By the way, Preston, I can resend you the picture if you want. Don't post it on here though; you'll get flagged. But a couple of the extras went a little too hard, and one of them spread the woman's ass cheeks a little too much, so you can see her asshole. It's a blink and you'll miss it.
Really? Even in the darkness?
I sent it to.
I know you did. I saw the picture you sent me, and at first I was like, are those mannequins?
No, let me lighten that up. I'll lighten it up on Photoshop.
Let me look at it. Let me look at this Carmine's asshole picture again that he sends me.
Stop.
Oh, God.
Let me lighten this up for you. I got you covered.
No. Okay,
actually,
let me
it's
see.
pretty light.
Let me see. Oh, okay. See, you sent me that, and I was like, "What am I looking at?" Yeah, you can see her asshole. That's something. And is there a moth on him? There's like a moth on his arm. Huh. Well, that's a first.
Nice sex. Why are you ruining the orgy scenes? Like, come on. I didn't even notice that. Why are you ruining this? Why are you looking that way?
What at his arm? When you sent me it, I was like looking around and I was like, what am I seeing? But yeah. Okay. Viserys, Rhaenyra, Alicent killed it. They all really killed it. I mean, there was nobody that was a poor actor in the whole thing. But though some people thought Massaria was a little weird. I'm not sure what was going on with Massaria. Did she put on an accent of some sort with her lines? Do you remember, Carmine?
She sounded normal to me, actually. The actress, believe it or not, very beautiful. She's half British, half Argentine, and I believe half Japanese.
Right. Yeah.
So
raised in Britain of like, yeah, Argentinian, or is she raised in Argentina, half British, half Japanese? I thought she was raised in Britain, half Japanese, half Argentinian. I don't know. But the accents are a kind of funny thing with Ice and Fire, right? Because some people have accents for no reason, and then other people don't, right? Like Serial Pharrell has an accent from Bravos, but none of the other Bravosi have accents. Or like Oberyn Martell has an accent, but none of the other Dornish have accents. So, or Doran and Oberyn both have accents, but none of the other Dornish. I don't know.
Loria kind of had one, kind of.
I guess did they give one to? I'm trying to think of the Bad Pussy line. Was that with an accent?
She's Italian, and she
just put on a regular accent. I mean, that's the thing is, I'm fine. Serial Pharrell didn't do an accent; he just had that accent. Like the actor had that accent, which is fine because I think there's just a mixture of accents that don't make any sense. But what I'm saying is that accents were never used to portray foreignness, right? At any time. Like, it's not like you met a Lyseni and then you thought he's Lyseni because he's foreign. Unless I'm supposed to think about that with Salvador San. Or so I don't know if she was like putting on a foreign accent to show that she was foreign. But a lot of people didn't have accents that were foreign. Like Melisandre didn't. I understand that the actress is from Denmark or something. I don't know, or Holland, but she didn't put on an exotic Ashai accent. So I don't know how they do accents in Game of Thrones. Maybe it's inconsistent. Then again, Oberyn Martell's accent, that's definitely not Pedro Pascal's accent. Like Pedro Pascal definitely put on an accent for Oberyn Martell. I just don't know. I don't know what they're doing with accents. Thoughts on Corlys? I thought Corlys was I thought the actor was incredible. He owned the room. You just saw the frustration and dedication in him when he was trying to talk about the war and everybody was ignoring him. And he's just he's a great character. I felt like in those. Even though Viserys is a very good actor, I think that the person who owned the scene was Corlys, where you're like, well, wait, let's go back to Corlys. What's Corlys doing? Why are they talking about succession when Corlys is talking about a fucking war, and pirates? It sounds far more interesting. Can we get to Daemon Mysaria doggy style scene with the Rogue Prince music for the intro and all of the Hot D after party streams? Well, I can't show too much, or else I'll be.
Yeah, they'll flag you for that. In fact, I actually had someone. I'm working on my review. I was actually going to mention the scene for it. So I had a friend of mine who's a very talented artist. I had her draw me that asshole scene. So I plan on showing that. It's I don't think I get flagged for a drawing, so we'll see.
Mysaria may be the Quaithe that we never got in Game of Thrones. Who knows? Maybe she has all sorts of insight. So Mysaria is this character that is introduced at the beginning of the Rogue Prince, and then kind of appears 30 years later, and doesn't really do anything that we know about. Like she might be doing a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes, but she doesn't really do much. And so they have a lot of flexibility on how much role they're going to give her and like what they're going to have her for to be in there. So hopefully they give her something cool to do. Some whores have Shay accents. Now Shay is Turkish German, just naturally the actress is. So I don't think she was putting on anything. But yeah, the Sand Snakes did have accents. Yeah, because I'm trying to think. Lady Nim, that actress is British, right? She was definitely putting on something weird. Bar Sand actress. I've got to find all these things. Keisha Castle Hughes. She's from New Zealand. She definitely was putting on something weird. So nobody has to have an accent except for Dornish. What a weird. Carmine's mom has an accent.
Yeah,
it's true. I'm Indigo Montoya. Oberyn Martell. It is true that they kind of put on this, but no. That's the thing is if you're from like Pedro Pascal is actually, has Chilean roots, right? Is this right? Let me see where he was born. Chilean born. This is the thing is because Pedro Pascal's American accent is, straight up American. So he moved to America. So he went. Oh, geez. So Pedro Pascal, though he was born in Chile, was visiting America as a child, and was pretty much half living in Texas by the age of 11, and then went to college in America. So he can probably go back and forth. So Carmine, on accents, like if you were to though you've never been to Brazil, and so you're only.
I was born there.
You were born there, right? But but like you haven't been back since a young age.
In 25 years, yes.
Yeah. So your only real knowledge of Brazilian accents are like your family and like other Brazilians that you've met in America, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So if you were to put on a Brazilian accent, do you think you could pass for Brazilian, or do you think someone would be like, dude, what are you fucking doing? Like
when I speak Portuguese to other Brazilian people, they think I'm an American guy who learned the language yesterday. It's over for me. Like I can't like, oh, it's very nice, you learned the language. Yeah, it's cool.
They say actually the same thing about Arnold Schwarzenegger when he speaks German, that his German has like become American. Like it sounds like an American speaking German, which is funny because he still doesn't sound completely American, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger. So he just has this like half accent both ways. So yeah, I imagine it's maybe so when Pedro Pascal maybe he was trying to put on a Chilean accent of some sort, but it still sound a little off probably to a Chilean.
By the way, real quick, you missed someone's super chat. Bailey, Bailey.
BEL was what
No,
is it?
Bai.
Ah, House of the Dragon, a prequel to the books or the show? This is a an interesting question because they screwed up the dates of Daenerys at the beginning, and so the dates they gave with 172 years is the dates to book Daenerys's birth, not show Daenerys's birth. And then there's just other things that are different, like the Iron Throne looks different. So there's a question of, is this in the same universe as Game of Thrones? But I think the mere presence of the Littlefinger dagger and the Littlefinger dagger making it look like the same dagger means that
not necessarily. If George confirms that the cat's paw dagger we saw in Game of Thrones is what he actually envisioned, then it's completely fine and it can still be a separate universe. Because Rings of Power has actually confirmed that their Lord of the Rings prequel is actually in a separate universe from Peter Jackson's.
I see.
So this could be the same case here.
Yeah, I suppose could be. There's definitely some weird. A werewood being in King's Landing. We know that's not true. But the Red Keep looks the same.
Well, George does have like outlines of what they're supposed to look like. So if they follow that, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I suppose. So I suppose the answer is both. It doesn't really.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's like Star Trek, where they always do a different series and the Klingons look different. But yeah, the dates were off. The dates were off and everything. So, why did Corlys swear to the old gods and the new? So it's pretty clear that in this universe, immediately contradicting what we just talked about, in this universe, it seems like if a werewood is still in King's Landing, that the destruction and persecution of the faith did not happen to the same degree, or something. Old gods and the new, and I'm going to look this up because this is, when we think old gods and the new, we usually think of Catelyn saying that, which kind of makes sense because Catelyn is, from the South, raised with the new gods, but marries somebody from the old gods and is now like integrating into this old, into this, other culture. The question is like, do other people say old gods and the new? So yes, as it turns out, Daenerys says old gods and the new in the original A Game of Thrones book. Jaime says old gods and the new. Davos says old gods and the new. And then Otho Bracken in The Hedge Knight says the old gods and the new. Which, no, I'm sorry. That was Dunk. Dunk says old gods and the new. I was about to say, like, Bracken saying old gods and the new would actually be pretty shocked to me because they hate the Blackwoods so much. You'd think that they would just be totally anti old gods. So I guess people occasionally say it. It's not said much. When I say like a non-northerner says it um, it's said 4 times from a non-northerner in the series, and only about 12 times total. So yeah, it's possible. It's possible that it's said, just, but yeah, I think it is a little weird that like the whole country would be so um, religiously tolerant to accept the old gods when clearly they have a history of not accepting them. Do, 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 do. Somebody's like, um, Pedro is pretty fine Spanish, but it doesn't sound like he's an American speaking it at all. I just don't know. I just don't know. My ear couldn't possibly tell. It's just one of those. There are these little things like about. So one of the dumbest like pet peeves that I have in spy thrillers is when they have somebody learn a language and then pretend to be of a different country. And I've bitched about this with my nitpicking of Inglorious Bastards, and but you'll see it in Alias, you'll see it in James Bond, like people learning a language and then like trying to infiltrate as a spy. A human being is incapable of pretending to be a ethnicity that they're not. Like the human mind is so good at catching stuff that they're just like, no, you wouldn't get it. Like, yeah, maybe somebody from Vancouver could pass for an American, like maybe, but it'd be really tough for even somebody from Toronto to pass for an American without an American eventually being like, why do you speak that way? Like you can't just fake it. You can't fake it. Yeah, I was actually disappointed with them saying Jaehaerys ruled over a time of peace when it was written material that there was a lot of turmoil. That's true, though. I do think that's partially George's fault. I think in interviews George has said Jaehaerys like ruled over this long period of peace when it was anything but. Like all these wars with the Dornish, like and the Vulture King and stuff like that, like don't count. So I do think it's a little silly. I mean, the fact that like Jaehaerys's own son was killed in a conflict of war, with the Mirish. So like it's silly. Of course, there was plenty of war during Jaehaerys's reign, but weirdly, I think I've seen George say that he reigned over this long period of peace in interviews, which is just odd. If we make it here in House of the Dragon, I predict Aegon III stripping away the excess swords from the throne, leaving us with a version of the original series. Yeah, maybe it'll be something like that. Like, I'm sick of getting cutting on this. Like, can we buff down this when kings are dying? It's just such a, I mean, I understand that it's the source material, but like, come on, when like people are dying, like Maegor dies on the freaking throne, and in the books, like eventually Viserys loses fingers, like on the Iron Throne. Like, dude, just like no one would sit on that thing. Like no one. Like, why would anyone do that? It was so fucking stupid.
Intimidation purposes.
Yeah, I know. How is Common born with a house name? Yeah, that was a fuck up. He's not Kristen Cole. He's from a lesser house, a much lesser house. But it might be that they were common and they're claiming that they were raised to being noble or something like the same as Seaworth or something would be my guess that they were going for that. But doesn't quite. They really screwed things up here because like they called him Dornish, and it's like, okay, he's from the Dornish Marches. Like they fucked that up, okay? Like being from the Dornish Marches is not being Dornish, okay? Like this is like saying like, oh, I'm from near the Texas border. Well, that doesn't mean you're I'm from the Mexican border. Like does not mean you're Mexican, you know? Like but they say, oh, he's from the Dornish Marches. Well, no, they're still in the Stormlands. Dornish Marches just means like on the border. But it just says that I'm trying to, yeah, there's nothing about them, how they've been raised up, but I guess they're saying that they were raised up or something would be my guess, would be my cope for it, even though, yeah, clearly it was not. It clearly was kind of weird. Isn't that the point of the scene in Inglourious Bastards? My problem with it is that they do say like, oh, there's something weird about your accent, but then the thing that throws them over is this. And it's like, no, like this would be the thing that would be weird. And the accent would be the thing that would be decisive. Like it would be the reverse. Like no one, like there's like, it was clear that Quentin Tarantino thought it was really neat and thought it was interesting that Germans did this and Americans did this, you know? And he wanted to make a scene based on that. That was all it was. In real life, you know, if a bunch of Germans are listening to a German American trying to speak German, a German American who's grown up in America his whole life, and yeah, speaks German with his family, this is the exact situation of like Carmine. Like imagine Carmine, you're in a bar with a bunch of Brazilians and you're trying to pretend to be Brazilian. And you're like, no, I'm from Salvador. And they're like, really, motherfucker? Like, really? Like, you know, like, and then they catch you on using a different number of fingers. Like it's a silly scene. It's a silly scene. And it's clear that just Quentin Tarantino thought this was like an interesting thing. That was it. Like they would have immediately kind of like called out his accent. Like, I understand that in the scene, they're like, your accent's funny. He's like, well, I'm from this weird town. And you're like, no. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Kristen Cole was the son of a steward to Lord Dundarian. Right, but steward doesn't mean you're not highborn. Like, lots of people are stewards. Steward just means you're like, you know, running shit. Like the steward for House Frey is another like son of his, a Frey. You know, like you can still be like I don't know if they just didn't understand what steward was. I don't know. Maybe he's ethnically Dornish, possibly, but it's. You know, it's weird. It's like they take off the helmet and they're like, oh, he's Dornish. Well, one, not all Dornish people look like Spanish people with like dark black hair. And I imagine like it's the Stormlands. And I don't know, there's a particular house in the Stormlands that might be famous for black hair. I'm not saying what house that might be, but there's this particular house in the Stormlands that's famous for black hair. Who's you know, like you can't exactly just pull off a helmet and be like, oh, that guy's Dornish. Like, well, Dornish people have blonde hair. They have yeah, I understand there's a show continuity, and they're supposed to look Spanish, but like, you know, dirty secret, there's plenty of Spanish people with blonde hair. Like go to Spain. Like, I understand that like southern Spain, you get this idea of like black hair, but you know, if you actually go to Spain, plenty of people with blonde hair, plenty of people with brown hair, lots of different colored hairs, lots of different colors of hair in Spain. Lots of different like colors of hair in Dorne. Lots of different colors of hair in the Stormlands. Like you can't just take off your helmet and somebody be like, "Oh, he's Dornish." Like it's a silly scene. It's fine though. It's a nitpick, but it's kind of funny. Right. You can't look at somebody and tell they're Dornish. Like, I mean, maybe if they're like, if he was really dark, like from the desert, like you could pick it out. But he didn't look that dark. He looked like he could totally be like a Baratheon bastard. Like he could like. Yeah, that throne makes sense for Aegon, and after that, nope. Absolutely. Like, you gotta be like, could you imagine, like, Aenys, like, sitting on that throne? Like, maybe Maegor. Like, Maegor... But Aenys wouldn't sit on that throne. And then maybe Maegor, just to prove that he's a badass, would sit on that throne. But then he dies. Everybody's like, nope, never gonna sit on that throne again. Germans walk like this, but Americans walk like this. This is from there's a Simpsons where they're making fun of like stand-up comedy, and the guy's like, "Have you guys ever noticed that white people drive like this, but black people drive like this?" And you're like, yeah. I'm Canadian and work on a team in the US. Nobody knows I'm Canadian unless I tell them. But where in Canada are you from? Like, are you from Toronto? Like, if you're from BC, like, maybe, but I don't know. Or maybe they just don't mention anything. They go, oh, there's something funny about the way he sounds. I mean, there's parts of America that sound a little more Canadian, but, I don't know. To me, it's the minute you say or like, there's definitely Canadian like words and Canadian lingo. Like if you say Zed, like you're gonna out yourself immediately. If you mention that you got coffee at Hortons instead of like Dunkin' Donuts or something, you're gonna out yourself. Thank you, Davis Denny. Was it discussed how stupid it was that Cole won that fight by sneaking up on Daemon? Or how the melee, I guess, was an actual battle of the death? We talked about the battle of death shit, which is just like, oh my god. Like, I don't even know if that was a melee. Like, they did some cutting. Because like, they first had somebody that got knocked off their horse, and then they were really upset, and they got up, and they, like, were angry, and attacked the other guy, and I thought they were jousting, and that was like the follow-up to the joust. Occasionally jousts can have follow-ups like that. It depends on like what jousting rules you're dealing with. And yes, some melees all start out on horse, and people can be unhorsed and stuff like that. So I didn't know if it was the melee or like somebody being angry in the joust, but then I saw other people there. So maybe it was the melee, but there was way too few people for a melee. And just people dying right and left. But yeah, Kristen Cole, like, sucker punching or sucker morning starring, sucker flailing. He sucker flailed Daemon. That completely changes the character of Kristen Cole. Like, Kristen Cole was so good that he was able to defeat Daemon with his Valyrian steel sword. Like, that's the idea, right? That he was so fearless and good that at the end of the melee, he freaking just runs up and is like, and like grits it. And so you're supposed to think, oh, he's the best fighter. He's a bastard for bringing a fucking live flail into a tourney, but so is Daemon, because Jesus. Like, one, I would never be in a melee. Like, but two, like, I would never be in a melee where I'm using a tourney sword and everybody else is using, and somebody else is using live steel and a freaking flail. Like, my God. but yeah, it takes away from Cole's character that he's supposedly a really great fighter when he sucker flails Damon. It's the thing. Stony Dornish, baby, from the Marches. Yeah, it's true. I mean, he could be Stony Dornish, but then he should have freckles and be blonde. But whatever. It's a tiny little thing. Like I think Kristen Cole is, he's a hot dude, looks great. Let's see. Your hair color determines your house. The only house that's really determined by hair color is like Baratheon, pretty much. I mean, modern Tullys, I suppose, have red hair, but that's about it. Like, even Targaryens seem to be all over the map with sometimes Rhaenys in the book has black hair, and sometimes they have gold hair, sometimes they have silver hair. Yeah. I'm Spanish with Portuguese descent. I have dark hair and eyes and super pale skin. I'm just saying there isn't really a Spanish look. There isn't, and it got in people's heads because it really got in people's heads because I think originally the Southern Spanish were you would do like on this like history of Spain. So obviously like you've got a Moorish invasion in 711, and they take nearly the whole country, or nearly the entire peninsula, but not really. But it's not that long until the Reconquista like begins, or Convivencia, however you want to talk about that period between 711 and 1492. But like, and it's not like when the Moors came in, they were like slaughtering everybody and replacing them with their own citizens. Like, you have like a ruling class coming in, and the people are still there. So like the original people of Spain, who are Iberian and then Celtic mixed in with Visigoths. So you've got German in there too. Like, it's not that like that population isn't necessarily like changing that much. Like even with like the introduction of like, the Moorish. So like you'll hear Spaniards talk about how like, oh, I've got the Moorish look, like when they're from the south with the black hair and everything. And so like in Spain is like incredibly diverse because their history is incredibly diverse, considering that we're talking about like, since there were Greek visitors to Spain, Roman visitors, Visigoths, Celts, the original Iberian people, the Celts, the Moorish, like so many people coming in, not to mention like Basques and all sorts of stuff. Okay, incredibly diverse place. But I think perhaps the Southern Spaniards became the ones that might have gone to the New World. And so like to an American, when we start thinking of like Spanish look, or perhaps like when the Spanish, interbreeded with the indigenous people of the Pan Americas, that their black hair stuck. But then in the United States perception, a Spaniard is like dark with black hair, even though it's completely not true in Spain, like in any way. But I'm not sure if it's just because of that like Southern Spain look, like, or if it's just because of a Spanish mixture with indigenous people in Americas. But it's completely wrong. Like, it's just like Spanish people don't like look like one thing. It's, but in America, if you say like, oh, he's got a real Spanish look, like people will think like black hair. But then again, like it goes beyond that, because we also like all the things that Americans think of as stereotypical Spanish are also the Southern Spanish things, like flamenco and bullfighting, and like it's all these like very Southern things, like where if you go to Barcelona, like in Barcelona they hate bullfighting, and in Barcelona like they don't dance flamenco, and like all these things we kind of associate with Spain, we like really like hone in on like that Southern Spanish like idea. So it's I'd like to say it's like, oh, because Castilian culture like dominated, but it's not even Castilian. It's like, it's like what we think of as Spain, like, is very like Cordoba, like very Cordoba focused, which is like ridiculous. But anyway, tangents.
I like this comment here. Maybe Allison was just being racist.
yes, she was.
Yeah.
Like he's not Dornish at all. Like, oh my gosh, he's Dornish. No, what are you fucking talking about?
Actually, my lady, I'm from the Westerlands, but okay.
Okay. Oh, I just realized that more tourney spectators were mad that Damon tripped a horse than a loser axing the other guy in the face out of spite. Oh, God. I could just laugh at that thing. See, I was largely distracted because they cut that melee with the birth, and so you're like so compelled. Like the birth scene is so incredible that like you're cutting it in with this thing that doesn't even make any sense. The melee editing was odd. It was really odd. Oh man,
it was annoying for me because I was watching it. I gave it to you last night. It was night for me, like 4 a.m. for me or 3 a.m. for me, and was it 4 p.m. for you? And I'm trying to watch this melee, and all of a sudden I have it, normal volume. And then all of a sudden she screams. I'm like, come on, dude, I have neighbors. Come on, what the fuck?
It was intense. That was an intense scene. It was an intense scene. Like I said, best scene of the episode, but crazy. Like it drained me for the rest of the episode. Like, when
have
we got
listened back to the podcast we did?
Yeah, we talked about it in the podcast a bit, but like
you sound so fucking like. I was like, are you tired? You should have just taken a quick nap.
So Carmine and I recorded podcasts right after we watched, and I was just exhausted. I was just like, oh god. And so like the rest of the episode, I was quite distracted because the birth scene was so emotional that I wasn't really, it's like only half paying attention to the rest of the episode. Like, have this like end, they have this prophecy reveal, and I'm like, I just at this point, like, I'm just exhausted because of that birthing scene. Sorry if I was asked, but will you and Carmine pick up Fire and Blood again, or will you focus mostly on House of the Dragon for a while?
Fuck! I knew we were forgetting something. Damn it!
I mean, obviously, I'm still doing overanalyzing House of the Dragon, so we're getting that. But it's like the podcast. We had, how far did we get in our podcast with Fire and Blood? It's funny that we made it all the fucking way, like, because we went through Aegon, we went through Jaehaerys, we did everything, and then we like got stuck in the dance somewhere, right?
No, we got we got to the part we got to the red dragon and the gold. We were supposed to do Rhaenyra triumphant, so we'll still do it. Don't worry, pain causing.
It's quite amazing that we like got through so much of that book and then just got stuck on the very end, right?
It's not that we got stuck. It's just I'll be honest with you. I got a little like this is just so dry, and there's other stuff that came out like just other stuff that came out. I can't think of the top of my head. Hold on. The fucking cat is going crazy back there. By the way, there's another person who's going to be joining us soon. Hit up Tracicus.
Okay.
And, maybe 4 people? I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe another person? Up to you. They always tell you don't cross the streams, but we might cross the streams tonight. We'll see what happens.
Okay. They're calling in?
Trey will join us. He just watched it a while ago. So.
Okay. Man. Yeah, I mean, it's like I wanted to get, right in after the episode, but it's like a lot of people really had to finish, especially with the watching the after the episode kind of stuff too. Do you think that George was a pro wrestling fan? I could see elements of the 1990s WWF, WCW, in Game of Thrones. Flamboyant costumes, love triangles, multiple disguises, rivalries, ageism, and elderly knights, dramatic characters, entrances, etc. I don't recall him ever saying anything about pro wrestling. Let me check this real quick though. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think also like the time period because 90s pro wrestling, which is hello.
I've never done this kind of thing before on stream.
How's it going?
Hey, Preston, how's it going?
All right. So how did you like the episode?
I liked it a lot. I had a great time with it.
You thought it was fun.
I did think it was fun. I saw your tweet saying that it wasn't fun. I thought, ooh, that'll be a fun conversation.
Yeah, that's my big criticism is that I kind of thought it was this like swashbuckling. That Game of Thrones had this like swashbuckling adventure, like world kind of like exploring kind of element to it. Right. That was kind of lacking in this.
Well, you've read Fire and Blood.
It's okay. I'm gonna have all these compliments. One, like Ryan Condal's like putting Fire to Blood to screen is doing
that's so exceptionally done. Lifting that history book into an emotional human drama, phenomenal job.
Oh, absolutely. He spun shit into gold. Like don't like it's
absolutely. Fire and Blood is so fucking boring.
it's so I can't like there's so like I say it's really fucking good. Like and there's so many emotional scenes and so well acted yes, it's such an improvement on the source material because the source material is shit. But I just don't think it's like what Game of Thrones fans are going to be looking for. But
I agree, and I hope that they find the room in their hearts to accept what this is, because I think what it is quite good.
Exhausting, emotional. Like the
intercut scene with the tourney and Emma's death that took it out of me.
And that's the thing is so one of the things I kind of said with Carmine was and you know Carmine thought the birthing scene was emotional, but I don't think it hit him as much because I mean I've been in a labor situation. I have a son, so right, I've been in those situations with like your one's
coming
wife.
Up on a second. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It's coming soon. And so that it might have to do with like anxiety and the feelings of anxiety that someone has for their wife and child and things like that. And so it was a very, very emotional scene. And like I say, I think that scene on the bed is I mean, I would say it's one of the greatest things to ever be put to film. It's just masterpiece. And like based on that alone, I would say it's a great episode. It's really, really good. But people watch Game of Thrones because they want something like fun, like it's, it's like watching Schindler's List or you wouldn't say like this is going to be a fucking hit show if you like presented Schindler's List to people. People would be like, oh fuck, that's exhausting,
Yeah.
So it was a bit of that. It was like so. That's why I was saying like they kind of needed mushroom.
Right, some levity. Oh, right. So you're agreeing with the critics who say there's no funny dwarf to laugh at. I
wish there were. Yeah. I mean, wow. I understand that like that sounds really bad. Like, because I was talking about this with Carmine too. Like, I understand that they didn't want to throw in another dwarf because we already had Tyrion, and this dwarf would actually be in a jester role, which is not a great portrayal of little people on screen. you know.
Yeah, and Peter Dinklage has spoken out against that kind of thing recently.
Yeah, absolutely. So I get it. And then there's like, okay, could we just make the Fool a regular person? Then it's like, well, then you're taking away like a role that was designed for a little person, then giving it to an able-bodied person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh fuck. Can we make them?
I guess they could make Fool Mushroom, but give him the depth of character treatment. Make him more than just a fool. I think that would be a decent compromise. Apparently, Mushroom will appear in a limited capacity. I've heard that somewhere.
Oh, really? Well, we needed some jokes.
Him everywhere. You think so? I thought there was enough levity. Like Viserys cracked wise a little bit. There was some jokes, some snarkiness from Rhaenyra. I don't know.
Yeah, there were some. Damon had a few zingers, but
especially towards Otto.
And maybe it's like I'm comparing it as well to like the Game of Thrones pilot, which is so fucking good, and you can never get to
pilot.
You can't get to that, right?
Yeah.
But I worry about the franchise because this was really fucking good, but it's not like I was saying, like going to a burger restaurant and getting a really great piece of fried chicken. Like I ordered a fucking burger, like you gave me this really delicious piece of fried chicken, but like I ordered a burger, so.
Oh shit, Glidus is here. What's up, Glidus?
Were you taking a crap? What are you doing?
No, my cat is very she's going crazy, so I had to calm her down a little bit before she comes in here and fucks everything up. But hey, Glidus, crossing the streams.
Yeah. How you doing?
Hey, did you get that asshole pic I sent you?
Carmine? Yeah, I did.
Good. I'll send it to you again if you need it. I thought it was decent. I thought it was decent. It was very okay, very decent.
Are you currently still streaming, Glidus?
Yeah, okay. This is a crossover stream.
Nice. The technology, man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I may have to mute myself to read out super chats.
Oh yeah.
You know how it is.
I know. I mean, we do them at the same time. Like, I've got one. Oh, do an amazing job at the Winds of Winter. Even if George gets,
I'll do mine while you're doing that.
Even if George gets to yours before you guys finish, I think we should keep going. Yours may end up better. Yeah, we've been having fun with it. The Elaine chapter is pretty much done. It came out way too long, but we'll see how it goes. We need here, I've got to quickly message Trey the Explainer here.
I haven't met Trey. This will be fun.
Yeah, he's a real nice dick.
Boy.
I seem so cool.
No, he's the coolest. Let's see here. I gotta find my my link here. Ecam interviews. Oh shit.
So Glidus, you liked it, right? Because I also gave Glidus the episode. Really, you really liked it? Like, on a scale from 1 to 10.
He loves the one scale of 1 to 10.
I do.
Yeah.
I would give it a 7. You give it an 8?
Yeah, it's really good.
But you still like the A Song of Ice and Fire little put in there that they put in?
No, that's why it's not a 10. So the way I described it to my stream was like, it's a phenomenal episode, and the dagger thing is really fucking dumb.
You know what? Maybe Viserys should have looked right at the camera and been like
173 years from now, when my great 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 granddaughter Daenerys is born.
It'll be the Song of Ice and Fire. You know what's funny is that in the books,
Superman 4.
What's funny is in the books, Rhaegar looks at the camera and says A Song of Ice and Fire. Like, he looks right at Daenerys and says it's A Song of Ice and Fire, and you're like, oh god, like. But so at least they didn't do that. Yeah. Dude, look.
It really is the fucking like the Family Guy skit though. Like,
oh, it is.
Becomes Superman 4, the quest. It really kind of that and the Feast for Crows thing. Did you catch that one, Glidus?
That was more natural. That was more natural.
I hope they. What's the joke we made on the podcast, Preston?
They'll be
tired of these Clash of Kings.
I just what? Can we stop with the storm of swords?
All right. What? Fire and blood on this one.
How am I? Do I have to tweet this to him? Give him to him on Twitter? I'm trying to think of Discord. Am I even friends with Trey on? Trey on.
You can give it to me. I'll give him the link.
I mean, you literally have it. It's
this link I'm on right now.
Yeah.
That ends in 6A.
Yeah.
Oh,
fucking.
People are gonna figure it out.
Yeah, there's only so many combinations that end with those characters.
there's only 64 trillion. Hello.
Watching between us.
Well, hello, can you guys
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. How about you guys?
All right. Oh, this is what I can fucking do. Oh my god, I totally forgot about this. Look at this. Boom. Calling in Trey. Boom. Calling in Glidus.
Oh my god.
Boom. Calling in Red Team Review. Now everyone knows.
You're missing out on a lot of action here.
Oh, man. Everyone's on. It's the greatest gathering of minds since Jefferson dined alone. Glidus in America, we have this I would not say it's a very famous phrase, but like among like history people, they say I think maybe it was JFK said it, but he said he had a bunch of smart people somewhere, like a bunch of like Nobel Prize winners or something at Monticello or something. And he's like, this is the greatest like congregation of minds since Jefferson dined alone. You know, so,
wow.
Yeah. Pretty funny. Oh man. So Trey,
yes.
Tell us your opinion.
There was something I think I generally there were things that I liked in it, and I think there was a lot of stuff that I didn't like that kind of made me kind of roll my eyes. It had potential. I had very low expectations going in, so I think it exceeded those at the very least.
That's the thing, is everything is about expectations. Like when comparing it to the Game of Thrones pilot, it's like there's so many mistakes that are glaring, but if you compare it to any other show or anything like that, it's like really fucking incredible. I think it made me feel emotionally stronger than any episode of Game of Thrones, save maybe the Red Wedding. You know, just from the birthing scene in the middle.
Yeah, the acting in the birthing scene and between Viserys and Aaron, what's her name?
Emma Aaron.
Emma Aaron, yeah, that was very strong. There was some very strong stuff, but then interwoven in there was some kind of stuff that was like the Gold Cloaks massacre scene or whatever that was.
Do you like the testicles on the stump?
I couldn't tell what those were.
You couldn't tell me neither. I didn't know what the fuck I was looking at.
I thought he was being spanked or something. I was very confused what was happening in that segment because they showed his ass and then
I made a joke that like it's a little silly, the scene in general, like because they're just running through the streets like grabbing random people and those people happen to be the criminals. Like right. they never like say that they were grabbing people that were like unjustly accused, but it looked like they were grabbing randos, you know, and then chopping off their nuts, and then him just being like raper, and it's like, did you just see that person rape somebody? Like how did like?
I wanted to bring this up with you because it's later on explained by I think in the next council scene that like they had already rounded up all the criminals, and that was just like them, you know, punishing them. So they'd already. There was just a dude pointing out to Damon, hey, that guy's a rapist. And Damon's like, all right, I guess I'll chop his dick off.
Yeah, I guess it's just the running. I mean, somebody else said to me like maybe it was just like these are like known criminals that they were grabbing. It was just famous.
They were,
they just
chasing
hadn't.
down people on the street though, like people that were like just talking in like alleys and stuff. It felt very random. They were like, I don't know. It came off as like they were like just harassing random people.
Yeah, they should have showed them pulling them out of their houses more or something. Like we're here for Pate,
Fate.
Oh man.
And then also, the other thing that made me kind of cringe was the tourney stuff. Ever just getting murdered at the tourney for no reason.
Yeah. I talked about this earlier, where even I think even George's treatment of Sir Hugh in the books is too much. Like the fact that they just like dismiss it and like put some sand over the blood and then continue on with the tourney. Like even that I think is too much. Like this is a highborn person that died. Like, have some downtime at least, like 30 minutes, like show some reverence. But like here it's just like people bashing each other's skulls in, like 3 people die in succession and it's just like, no biggie.
So they're kind of doubling down on the convention that they put into Game of Thrones season 1, right?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, that's the thing that happens in this world. That's just what happens.
It's all for funsies, man. Tourneys.
Yeah,
funsies.
Sometimes people die. All good. This is what happens, dude. Don't get so hung up about it.
Because like in real history, like even the kind of idea of the Roman gladiator fights are a myth. Like people weren't really dying in those gladiator fights. Like, otherwise you'd run out of gladiators really fast,
Yeah,
Right.
There's a bit more reverence for human life in general. Just a bit.
It was really stupid of Viserys to like put all of his eggs in the tourney, with the heirs tourney, considering they're saying like the 50-50 shot that women die in childbirth in the time is what they claimed inside the episode afterwards. And then 50-50 shot that it's like a girl. So like it's only 25% chance that it would have been a surviving boy. You had this tourney. It's really, really embarrassing. Oh man.
I know he's excited. You can't blame him. Be nice to Viserys. He's a nice guy.
he's a nice. If I had to have somebody next to me when they cut open my belly, and murdered me, I guess I'd choose Viserys.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah. Can you guys talk amongst yourselves for a moment? Because I'd have to use the privy.
Oh, good shot.
Look at him go. All right. Hello, Trey.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Hey, you too.
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm really tired. I've spent a lot of the last 48 hours live on stream, and I'm ready to sleep.
Oh man, I feel that.
And you just like spent. I always know that like the last couple, I don't know, editing shifts before you publish a big video is always, I don't know, huge, and really cathartic when you finally publish it. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Like I'm still coasting off of the video because like for the longest time I was like procrastinating and staying up really late, and it was like, oh, there's so much to get through. So now I'm just chilling. I haven't been working on a video at all since the last one. So
Nice.
I've been good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wonder what that's like. Yeah.
It's great that you're both here because I was telling this to Glidus a while ago. Like you guys, in regards to YouTube, you guys are like rarities, like mutants, because both of you guys do the same thing in the sense. The only other YouTuber I know that used to do this was Mizkiff, who stopped doing YouTube to do Twitch. And you guys do this thing where you'll spend months on one video and then upload it, and then everybody and their mothers comes rushing in to watch. It's like a giant event, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of true. I think it's more true of Trey than me.
Well, it's more true of Trey, and you are going to be burning that midnight oil. Is this your first Thrones season rush?
I did season 8 videos when it was airing.
Okay, You did season 8 video. Yeah, but season 8 only lasted, what, 6 weeks? This is going to last until the end of October. And are you going to do the Lord of the Rings stuff?
I'm thinking about it.
Do it.
I'll watch it and see what I think. I'll watch it and see what happens.
That's smart.
Just in case Preston, we got a lot of shit because me and Preston, we cover all this crap. So I'm down to do She-Hulk every now and then, but like
I got to do my, it's going to be nothing but She-Hulk reviews and nothing else.
No, we're doing House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, which is probably going to blow, and then Andor. Remember Andor? That's still coming.
Oh shoot, yeah.
And there should be another show. Yeah, Star Wars Andor.
Oh,
which is going to have 3 episodes premiere.
So Trey, I thought of you during the episode because when the 2 girls are sitting with that book outside at the tree, I was like, fuck, they've taken a book outside. Like this is why we have Lost Works, and then they fucking rip it up, and I'm like, oh my god.
I was watching it with my dad, and I looked at him and I said, like, that is terrible. I hate these characters.
How dare you damage a book?
Well, because you think about the time and care it took some scribe to bind and draw first do every single page painstakingly, painting and writing, and then binding that book, and all at the time that's so much work just to make the paper. Just to make the fucking paper back then is so much work, and so much care is put into it, and then she just fucking rips that page out. You're like, oh my god!
And why does she do that? Does she do it for any particular reason? She's just like, she's pissed. I don't know. She doesn't want to talk about Doran
something
anymore.
About Nymeria?
It's kind of just like a bit of snark towards Alicent. It's like, haha, you'll remember this now.
I feel like George in the books, that's something that would piss George off, because in the books they talk about how books are constantly getting damaged, people are dropping them and they're getting all muddy and stuff. I'm like, oh.
Well, the book, I mean, it's of course the Dragon book plot, which is the hidden background fan thing that only super fans even notice. That okay, Tyrion borrows a book. The library burns down. He brings it to the wall. He leaves it at the wall. Then Sam takes the book with Aemon, and they sail all the way down to Old Town. And then we're not sure if the book stays in Old Town or if the book goes with Maester Marwyn to Slaver's Bay. But there's this long process of following books and lost. And there's this discussion about lost knowledge and things like that.
Yeah.
Even
there's I was wondering the book that Alicent was reading to Jaehaerys.
Yeah,
I was wondering if that was going to be a natural history, but she didn't say it specifically. I was like, oh, is that a natural history? Is that Septon Barth right there?
I thought
read that
I thought that was the implication, but Unnatural History would be the worst book to bring, right? It's one thing to read it to a guy who's totally out of it, who's just
hey, this thing your best friend wrote before he died.
And isn't it don't we know that it's super dry?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the most boring book in the world. It's worse than
yeah,
Fire and
she
Blood.
thinks it's the way of playing this thing.
Oh man, yeah.
What was he making, by the way? He had his little train set.
Oh my god, we find out he's a fanboy. He's a fanboy for something.
Is that Valyria or something, or is that Dragonstone?
Valyria.
I couldn't tell. Oh, cool. All right, it's kind of cool to see old Valyrian
He hasn't started
architecture.
painting it yet.
Oh man,
Maybe Valyria was supposed to be how we have the myth of Roman Greek statues being completely colorless. It might be something like that.
I see. Yeah.
Oh, saves on paint too.
Yeah.
But regarding Unnatural History, though, your video made me rethink things, because when you hear about Baelor the Blessed saying he ordered all copies of Unnatural History to be burned, and at first you're like, oh my gosh, this is a big book burning of thousands of books. It's no, he had 7 books burned. Like,
Yeah.
that was all there were, like.
It was like the 2 that were in the cabinet in the Royal Library. He's just like, yeah, get rid of these.
You're like, done. Like, that didn't take
The
long.
instruction manual for the kitchen stove.
Well, we know that when like Roman emperors ordered like authors' works to be destroyed, like a lot of it survived because like most of it was in like private collections, and like if like you're not going to admit to, you're like, I'm just going to keep this in my secret library. I'm not going to burn this book. So that's how some stuff survives. So maybe
yeah, it's kind of true. The so when I was a young man, I went to China to teach English for a while, and one of the other teachers was like, he's a pretty generous guy. He was doing it kind of just in retirement for fun, to teach English. Like, he didn't care about the money because there was no money. It was, and so he had gotten this like this big like CD-ROM like Encyclopedia Britannica kind of thing, and he's just like, oh, anytime like the kids want something to read in English, well, I've got this like CD-ROM thing, and he like donated it to their library, and they're like, oh yeah, thank you, and then they like lock it up, and because they didn't want like the kids like destroying it, and of course, so no one ever looked at that thing ever, but yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter now. The internet's around, but I guess those kids never saw it. But it was like too precious. They're like, wow, this is like, $150 like product. I don't know if you remember CD-ROMs and like how things worked back in the late 90s, but but it was different, I mean, much in the same way that like no one buys Blu-rays even now today because everything's streaming. So,
right.
But man, oh man. Oh, but so Trey, do you feel like a burning need to watch the next episode?
I guess I'm interested to see what happens next. I don't know if it's burning though. It's like I'm interested to see like what they adapt and what's different, I guess. And like I thought like, because we heard rumors about the prophecy thing, the Aegon prophecy. I'm interested to see if they use that at all. I don't know where that's going. Because I guess it has interesting implications for the books, I think, more than anything.
Yeah,
if it is something in the book.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing, is we're still mining for stuff that would be in the Winds of Winter
because we're desperate.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like, give me more right now. Hook it to my veins. I'm not mad that I can't watch more right now. I mean, I kind of am. I'd like to watch more. I'm excited to see more. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
Yeah.
The CGI is pretty, there's some pretty stuff.
CGI is good.
I'm ready to see Clarence
I'm so
Crabfeeder
invested in some of the characters. I really, really love Viserys. In Fire and Blood, I don't.
Spoiler: he dies.
At all. I'm very indifferent to him. But Paddy Considine's Viserys is so exciting. I just love the portrayal. It's so good.
He's very different. He's very different from the Robert clone that they wanted. That Fire and Blood is.
He's so much more sympathetic than Robert, and that's not to say that Robert isn't sympathetic at all. But it's a lot easier to root for Viserys, which means it's gonna and they're doing that because we know it's gonna happen. Yeah, because really, Fire and Blood Viserys, which is a guy who marries an 11-year-old girl in order to have a better right to the throne, and kind of cringe.
Who like doesn't necessarily have any feelings towards his wife, who probably had an affair with Alicent before his wife even died, like who is drinking all of the time and is drunk all of the time, like it's not you don't have as much sympathy for him, but then what else has Paddy Considine been in?
I have no idea. I've never seen him before.
But he's master of his craft.
He's so good. That scene in the throne room.
Yeah, it's true. Like the brothers talking.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, Paddy Considine. I thought you'd said his name was Constantine.
That's my bad. That's I fucked that up.
Am I mispronouncing something? Who would have thought?
When I first met Glidus, how many times did I fuck up your name? Like that one
It took like a year before you got it right.
Yeah, it was not a year.
Oh,
you were
jeez.
pronouncing Viserion wrong until last week.
If you ask him now, he's still gonna mess it up. He won't get Viserion. No.
Say Viserion.
It's Viserion. I got it. Aha. What did I used to say? Visceron.
Visceron?
Ah, yeah. Jesus.
So, reading his bio about Paddy, you're gonna love him even more than you already do. He, by the way, is a musician.
Yeah, I did know that.
And he had his own band. He also has like a family, 3 kids. Born in Ireland. He has been in a lot of fucking movies and plays since like
Good on him.
anything we'd recognize is was in the Bourne Legacy. That's about it.
Right.
Okay.
Death of Stalin. But
oh, really? Who was he in Death of Stalin?
It says Comrade Andreviv.
Right.
I don't know.
Sure.
Oh, he's in Bourne Ultimatum as well. And
so he's a reoccurring character in the Bourne movies. Wow.
Yeah.
King Viserys. He plays King Viserys Targaryen in the Bourne Identity movies.
Oh man. Yeah. A lot of people thought that that Matt Smith stole the show, or a lot of reviews mention him, but
nah, Paddy Considine.
It's all Paddy.
I think Reese Ifans is really good as well.
Yeah.
He captures a lot very quickly as Otto.
That's true. Considering he's a comic actor, there's nothing funny about his role at all.
No, he's so serious and dry.
I mean, I see him and I just always think of Notting Hill.
Right.
Because he's the roommate. But I think a lot more people maybe know him from the Spider-Man movies, the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Let's see. While I'm here, let's do a few super chats for me. You guys can do your own.
I'll be back soon.
Okay.
Let's split.
Maybe for later.
Right.
Quentin
Hopefully you guys can still hear me. I muted the chat. I think I'm still coming through.
Yeah,
I am. Cool.
Okay.
I need to look at my super chats.
Okay.
Sorry
Sounds
for
good.
ignoring you for so long. I think I might actually leave the call and go on with my own thing. Like I'd love to stay and talk with Preston, Carmine, and Trey specifically. It's so great to meet Trey, but I did have other plans for the stream.
Like I said, Trey is the biggest dick, and he just hates everyone.
I do not.
$2 from Kyle Allison. The cat's paw was Azor Ahai the entire time. Entirely possible. He is indeed the prince who was promised, born from salt and smoke. True. Brennan Barnes just can't stop giving me money. Didn't think I'd be closely inspecting it. Oh wait, we did read that.
Hold on.
I have you on Preston's channel on my channel from Glenn Thrasher. Yeah. Nice. What? Double dipping the stream.
I'm gonna figure out a way to
FR Childress again. God began with a mystery. House of the Dragon needed some of that as well. True. Kind of like a hook to keep you watching, like bait the audience. Yeah, I get that.
There we go. All right. We'll see if he calls back. I turned down his volume. I don't know if I can actually mute him. Let's see here. Okay, let's
Carmine,
go back
what did you just send me? Who is this?
That's
Oh, is that?
I don't know if you know this, but so did you ever watch Mandalorian?
Well, it depends on which season.
They season 2 they deepfake Mark Hamill young as Luke Skywalker. So what happened was HBO won't be outdone. So what they did was they resurrected Philip Seymour Hoffman and they deepfaked him in as Lord Rickard Stark. You don't know that, Preston? You want to send that? You want to put that picture real quick? People.
Let me see if I can find. Can you send it to me again?
Yeah, I got you.
Because I know it was on your background. Carmine thought Rickard Stark looked really kind of funny.
He does look a little funny. He's got a weird.
You sent it to me. Okay.
Well, he doesn't look like I don't know, like what I pictured a Stark would look like. I guess I was picturing somebody who looks like Sean Bean.
Right. Or somebody like Grizzly. I mean, he's trying to look Grizzly.
Yeah.
But
every line he dished out, he looked like he was in pain. Holy fuck!
I'm a Stark. I'm a Stark from the north. It's like the Arnulf Karstark portrayal in Game of Thrones. You know, yeah, God, you're Kin Slayer. That was Rickard Karstark, actually.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe for later, Quentin is about George's PTSD. Should it be that Ariane and Quentin are about George's PTSD? Where's Quentin? What's he doing for Dorne, etc.? Maybe Quentin focus on George R. Martin during the war. I think Quentin is definitely about PTSD and the war and who goes off to war and who doesn't go off to war. And George has always envisioned this alternate reality where he got sent to Vietnam and what would have actually happened to him. He actually has a story called Pathways or something. It was a failed pilot that he wrote that deals with like a character having two alternate realities kind of merge and like coping with them and dealing with them. So yeah, going forward with the fanfic, we gotta get into what Quentin is gonna be feeling and dealing with, especially when he goes home and perhaps meets his dad or meets his sister. Stop running away from Glidus. Was the dream planted? That's a good question. I don't know if we're gonna get into that. Who's sending the dream, because it's not Bloodraven. So Targaryen speaking High Valyrian, hot or not? Trey, High Valyrians, hot or not?
I thought it was kind of cool when she first slipped into it. Caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I like those dragon keepers too. The dragon keepers speaking High Valyrian to the dragons. That was cool.
I did think though, were they during the Emma's funeral? Were they standing like right next to the pyre? And I was like, dude, stay out of the line of dragon fire.
Get out of the way. I think you're right. I think they were.
Did the Maesters purposely misreport the birth setting in motion leading to the dance for the goal of extinguishing the dragons? I believe so. I believe that the Maesters are purposely doing a lot of nefarious things with regards to who survives what birth, what baby survives, putting family against family, because that's just what they're doing. They're doing whatever they can to get rid of dragons. And I think, like for instance, that when they showed the Maester with the baby there, and then the next thing you know, the baby's dead. Like I think there was definitely an implication there that the Maesters let that baby die. Yeah.
Well, I actually got that feeling during that scene. Sorry, Trey, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just going to ask. In Fire and Blood, does Emma Aaron get a C-section, or is that added?
We don't know. No, she doesn't get a C-section. She just dies in childbirth, and then the baby dies a day later.
Shortly. Yeah, shortly after. Right. When they were gonna do the C-section, and she comes back in the conscious, she gets all panicky and stuff. That made me believe a little bit that the Maesters might be doing some bullshit and behind the scenes, and she knows about it, and she's just panicked. Like that's what made me think of that.
Right, that this wasn't actually necessary, because the thing is like she's given birth before, she might know that things, this is normal, and that she was actually like it was actually all fine. You know, imagine how dark it would have been, you know, knowing that actually there were no complications and the Maesters were just like saying there were, that the baby would breach. Now, the only thing against that is there's a fucking room filled with midwives, and those midwives are not going to be fooled. They're going to be like, what are you talking about? Like, the baby's not breech. Like,
unless they're in on it too.
Unless they're in on it too.
Yeah, and I was wondering, like, you're talking, like, was that the Grand Maester, or who was that? That was
yes, so that was the Grand Maester. That was Melos, is the name they give. In the book. There are 3 Grand Maesters: Runketer, who eventually dies; Melos, who was second; and then Orwyle, who was third. And so in the book, it should be Runketer, but they just like, fuck it, get rid of Runketer, go right to Melos. So
interesting, yeah, because I could see like how like the Grand Maester's like influence there, like he could really take control of the situation, like kill off Emma Aaron if he wanted to, remove her from like the marriage.
So some people say the Maesters killed that baby, but then somebody else is like, the Maesters didn't do anything. That baby started choking. Did you hear that choke? What was the choke about? This isn't the first person that said they heard a choke. But did you guys hear a choke in the baby?
Don't listen to this MRP guy. He's in on the conspiracy as well. Fuck this guy. Oh, by the way, you can unmute Glidus now. He's
Okay. All right. Let's go back to I've got to get back to gotta find my interview thing. Why do I keep it's behind. I didn't even need to do this.
Seriously, I love this fucking layout you have. Holy shit. And Glidus, I saw Glidus' stream real quick. He also has a really nice layout.
You're unmuted, Glidus. You're back.
Thank you. So sorry for doing that. That was
no worries. No worries.
I've done in ages.
Glidus, your boy Brennan came in here. He's looking for you.
Yeah, I know. He's throwing money around today.
So did you guys hear? So the choking thing. Did anybody hear that? Like we're questioning whether or not the Maesters killed the baby, or even if like there were no complications and they killed Emma Aaron for the sake of it.
I knew that you would try to find something in this. Always blaming the Maesters for something. I'll go back and look at it. I don't think there was anything though.
Motivation wise, it would seem a little bad because it would immediately put Damon in the line, and they haven't yet like framed Damon for anything. So like I would say motivation wise, it's a bit much for the Maesters to kill Emma Aaron. You know. Maybe the kid.
Also, I really doubt that the show is going to do any of that stuff. Any like Maester conspiracy. I don't think we'll be seeing much of that.
Yeah.
Because most of the stuff that you dig into concerning Maester conspiracy is like because Fire and Blood is written from the perspectives of Maesters, but because the show is like by the nature of the medium, an omniscient, I guess, perspective. There's no way to frame that in a biased way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they did their best to like walk back Damon and Air for a Day, but that's about the only thing they walked back. You know.
I just got a super chat saying that they did hear a choke and assumed that was when the kid died, but then they said later on that he lived for multiple hours. It could just be a hiccup because babies make noises when they come out.
They make a lot of noise. It's a it's a pretty like one of the most like seared in memories of my in my head that I will never forget is when my son came out and he's this like purple thing, and you're first very shocked. You're like, oh my gosh, he's so purple. Is he going to be okay? Oh my god. And then there's this snap, just like, pew, and he's like, ah, and you're like, yeah, oh my god, he's alive. Like, Because you're worried, like this purple thing, this off-colored, this like sliding out, and you're like, oh my god, is he all right? And then it's like, boom, he's awake, and he like goes from purple to pink, and it's like the most incredible thing. Yeah, you don't get that with too many fictionalized portrayals of birth. In fact, Miracle Man, the comic book by the guy who did Watchmen, Alan Moore. In the middle of that, he has a very real to life birth scene where it just shows a woman giving birth and like the baby looking all like a newborn baby, like super ugly. And I think that issue got like a massive pushback or bannings or something. And he's just like, this is how fucked up our world is. We can show people like exploding into blood, but we can't like show a woman actually like giving birth. Like that's how fucked up our society is. Like how our priorities are all screwed up. Let's see. Previous super chat was more about Ariane dwelling on Quentin, George dwelling on not being in Nam. Yeah, that's interesting. Right. The Ariane dwells some on Quentin, but it's so much as dwelling on like her sibling rivalry with him, which there's no sibling rivalry from Quentin's perspective, and I don't know if that's intentional or just something that like George didn't think about. He had other things to write about when he was writing about Quentin. But Quentin's definitely about Nam. I absolutely think the Maesters killed that child. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you're right, Glidus, that they're going to cut the Maester conspiracy. It's not going to be in here.
Yeah.
It's a little too big brained for, I think, general audience.
I mean, definitely the Maesters seem to be against Daemon.
It ties into so much of A Song of Ice and Fire, which they've already adapted. And there's none of the Maester conspiracy in there. Like, there's none of that shit in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, one would think that, like, considering they were at the Citadel and you had scenes of the Conclave, like, meeting, and not a single one, like...
Oh my god, those scenes are so fucking dumb. Like, it's just a bunch of old guys going, oh, I don't know about this dragon stuff. What?
What?
And they come up as complete idiots.
Yeah.
It would be really weird because, yeah.
A 20-year-old nobody is like, no.
Excuse me. Perhaps, maybe this dragons might be an issue.
No.
Okay, from that you're right that it would completely contradict Game of Thrones if they put in Maester conspiracy, because all of a sudden it'd be like there's this massive Maester conspiracy, and then they're like, job done. Let's never talk about it again, and it's never passed on to like.
I've just received word from a super chat that during the Gold Cloak scene, when they were castrating that dude, there was apparently a stock fart sound effect sound. Like,
really?
No. There was
no way.
I don't believe you.
I will go back.
Hold on, let me get my review copy. 1 second.
Your review copy. Is that what that is? Did HBO mail you a copy, Carmine? Is that what fell out?
Yo, I was telling Glidus, like, fuck the dudes who shall remain nameless, who went to the premiere, because they're probably thinking, yes, I have a head start on the episode. And then we all get it. Fuck you.
Yeah, the choking might just be typical baby sounds.
Like, it doesn't have to be that combative. We're all just, it's not a competition.
You're in the Game of Thrones now. Come on, bro, get in this.
But like I say, it's like rising tide.
About how Game of Thrones YouTubers are all cutthroat and we're all backstabbing each other and we're all lurking in hallways having secretive discussions of who to manipulate. And the Lord of the Rings YouTubers all sit in a single council peacefully and harmoniously discussing how best to govern the world.
I mean, it with YouTube, it doesn't really make sense too much because it's not like network TV where you can only watch one show at 8:30 and then it's done. Like you're either watching the Cosby Show or you're watching whatever is on CBS. Like with YouTube, like the rising tide like raises all ships. Like you watch one person's stuff and then the other people's stuff is in your suggested, and then you just watch their stuff after.
Yeah.
So
what's
like
good for the goose is good for the gander, and in this case, I'm one hell of a gander. I published a video at 3 p.m. my time.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh, the fart sound is real. Sorry, I rewatched this scene.
Oh God!
It literally caught me off guard, and I shouted. Sorry. It's like rip ass sound. It's like
no. Do you have
It's real. It's real. I can't believe my ears. Let me do it again. Let's see here.
Oh no.
It's 1848. 18 minutes 48 seconds.
Right, for me, it's 2055.
Okay, so
right, because you've got previews, yeah.
You're on the HBO site.
Oh yeah, so I'm on the yeah.
he's like I have a legit paid for.
Oh, I heard it. Oh my God,
it's real, right?
No.
That's like the episode goes down from an 8 to a 7.
Sorry for showing bum, chat. I showed the guy's bum.
I thought you were joking. I thought that wasn't real.
No, it's real. No. Oh, they ruined it.
Why would they do this? Why would somebody intentionally do this?
The Game of Thrones game needs games. It's true. Though there was a slight game with Otto, right? Like he does clearly like send a letter, which was from the source material, like him sending a letter to his brother, and then like has the spy that discovers what Daemon was doing. So I mean, there's some game in that. So there is some game to the Game of Thrones, but yeah, it's I would love Maester Conspiracy, but I just don't think there's. I agree with Glidus that they're probably not going to do it. It's just a little too. It's just it would be too awesome. It'd be too awesome.
No, we can't do that. It's too cool.
What can we do? Well, I've got this idea. When somebody's castrated, he farts.
My favorite scene in Game of Thrones is the council scene where Pycelle farts when he looks at Gregor. It's so funny. I've killed Preston.
I mean, I get it that like when people are super super scared, they do like shit themselves, but like I don't know if they fart. I've never farted when I've been scared. I don't know. Maybe. I guess. It's just such a weird thing.
Yeah, that somebody intentionally took time out of their day to edit in a little fart sound, little fart MP3.
Yeah, you can picture the little editing elf sitting in his little editing bay, clacking away at his keyboard, searching for just the right stock fart sound effect to use.
Some people are like, how did you not hear that the first time? Like all these other people are like, this is obvious. I was like, oh God, there was other stuff going on. I don't know. The main books are omniscient time traveling Bran point of view, that he's like skin changing everybody and he sees everybody's point of view.
Oh no.
This is terrible.
All right, so I had different plans for my streams. I was going to go react to some of the earlier articles written about it, like when the embargo drops, because some of them are a little cringe, and I thought it might be fun to dunk on them. So I might go do that, unless you guys are interested.
By the way, Phill is here, and he said that I have to poop when I'm scared, but not fart.
So you're saying we should have seen that guy like void his bowels?
That's true.
That's what the show's
Preston,
doing.
have you ever had your balls cut off? Like, fair enough. Okay, we don't have any like firsthand knowledge about
experience.
About what happens when your balls are cut off. Do you like tense and like keep it all in, or do you like shit your pants or like fart when you get your balls cut off? I don't know.
Okay, this is the level of discussion we really expected from House of the Dragon Discourse.
Yeah.
Fuck themes. We're here to talk about what biologically should happen when you get castrated.
So is Daemon Targaryen Hunter Biden? Hunter Biden is way hotter than Daemon Targaryen. I would much rather look at Hunter Biden fucking people in a brothel than Daemon Targaryen with his like
Good
weird.
news, you can actually. There's ample video of it apparently.
That's what I'm saying. Like his sex tapes are much better because Hunter Biden is fucking hot.
I don't think they're as well lit though.
I showed Preston one of the Hunter Biden tapes, and I'm expecting Preston to go, ugh! But no, Preston's reaction was, wow, what a king! Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
yeah. Come on.
Good for him.
Good for him. Good for him. Sex tapes. Why not? You know? Yeah.
You ever make the 8, Hunter?
What's the ape hunter?
You weren't a real man in the 7 kingdoms till you made the 8.
Oh, the 8. I made the 8.
Did you hear Ape Hunter?
I heard Ape Hunter. It just completely changes the scene. Robert's like, you're not a real man unless you've made the ape. It's like, Robert! Have we talked about the Viserys miniatures Valyria? Yeah, how he's a fanboy and how he's like, you know, he's like sitting there working on his trains. He's sitting there working on his trains as the teenage girl comes in to try to seduce him.
And he's like, no, not now. I'm busy.
Busy with my trains.
I need to get this battlement right. He's working on his Warhammer.
How does he know what Valyria looks like?
Dreams.
Does he have a book?
Yeah, I guess maybe there's drawings. It's a
then
history book.
How's he going to get that out of his bedroom? It's fucking huge.
It doesn't need to go anywhere. It's for his bedroom.
But the thing is, we've seen like later that it's not in that bedroom. So
he makes a new one.
I'm assuming that's Cersei's bedroom in season 8, right? Wouldn't she move into like the biggest bedroom?
It's still there. When
it's actually like a different
destroys the castle.
All right, I'm outie. See you later, guys.
See ya.
Yeah, we better.
Have a good one.
All right, I'll see you later, man.
See ya.
Oh man. All right. Viserys is the model train set dad. This weird, like, I'm like envisioning this weird porn where, like, you know, the Alice, like, his daughter's BFF like comes in while he's like playing with his trains. Oh gosh. All right. Well, chicks love a hobby, man. There's nothing that makes women wetter than model training or painting miniatures.
So Trey, I don't think I asked you. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how did you like the episode?
Let's say I'll say a 7. We'll say a 7 for me.
No, yes, exactly. It was incredibly decent, bordering on good, but very decent.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I say I'll be schizophrenic and be like, I think I would give it like an 8 or an 8.5, like as a piece of like cinema by itself, but like as a Game of Thrones kind of thing, the beginning and the ending, and it being part of a series and a franchise, I'd drop it down to like a 6. So maybe my average comes out to like a 7. I don't know. So, like I said, I mean, I felt a lot. Like I felt, it was very emotional, and so it's a lot. But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to save HBO.
Yeah.
Yo, stop saying that. HBO has endured for a long time, and it'll endure for a long time after we're gone, Preston. How dare you? It's gonna endure.
They really hyped this up. Like they were really, really trying to get the advertisements for it. So
a lot of people are saying 10 out of 10. A lot of people really love it. Really love it. So, take a look at my Warhammer 40K figurine. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. He said, by the way, he put Warhammer 4K, which it would be Warhammer. At this point, it's Warhammer 1K because it's the year 100.
Preston, I hope you don't mind if I bring a special guest in here. Hope you don't mind.
Okay,
Mr. He'll call it soon. I hope.
Okay. Because I was going to wrap up fairly soon, but let's have him.
Yeah, I might have to jump off too.
Oh, I forgot it's fucking 12 for you. I'm so sorry, Trey.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's cool.
It's like they still have Euphoria. It's true. Euphoria is their before this was their number one watch show on HBO. So
for now, until the good looking blonde who always gets naked, poor girl, starts demanding more money, and then they're gonna have to cancel because she's, for what I hear, she's like the entire show right now.
Yeah, Masari is the only one that got naked so far, right? Yeah. I mean, besides randos.
Unless you want to count Rainey's on the actress for Rainey's on the premiere.
Let me see if I can accept here. Oh, Phill the Issues Guy. Yay! Phill, how are you doing? Let's see if I get... Phill, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fuck, his mic is so crisp. Holy shit.
Oh
what is that mic?
Dang.
You have such a nice mic.
Jesus.
It's crisp. So is the vodka. So I'm sorry. I'm a little buzzed at the end of the night, but I just wanted to jump in with you guys. I couldn't help it.
So it's been a minute since we've done a live stream. How have you been?
I've been all right, here and there. We can stop this House of the Dragon discussion and catch up, you and me.
I mean, let's talk about the death of Uhura. Uhura.
Oh yeah. Even though Star Trek V is not my favorite Star Trek, that fan dance when I was a kid watching that for the first time was very influential. That with Linda Carter as Wonder Woman, Uhura was a big part of my early development as a kid. She was one of those early attractions.
She's a great woman. I mean, I think one of the, if not the first interracial kiss, one of the first interracial kisses on TV. Good. It's too bad she's gone.
Yeah, and Shatner's still going strong.
Shatner will outlive us all.
I have to admit, and I know I'm hijacking this stream to talk about. I love his unabashed hate for New Trek because he's saying what other people won't about it, about how horrible it is. When he's like trashing Discovery and Picard, and everyone else, it's okay, it's great. No.
But Shatner's also drinking the grifter Kool-Aid, kind of. I think he called the new stuff woke, and then someone replied to him, bro. No, he called it. I'm sorry, not woke. He called it political, and someone replied to him, dude, you were literally part of the most political thing on TV ever. You were part of the first interracial kiss. What do you mean? That's entirely political. So
you could have just called it. Kind of talked like the red team guy. Just called it action schlock. What it is, it's just bad action schlock.
Speaking of bad action schlock, did you enjoy House of the Dragon?
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode, I would say like around the 7. I was at 8, and then I heard you guys talking about the fart, and I went down to a 7. I agree with what Preston said. It dropped it down to a 7. No, I would say it was good. I think it did what it needed to do as an episode to sort of put you back in that world, and it was sort of a layup episode, like the movie Tin Cup, where everyone's like, Tin Cup, don't go for it, don't try anything too interesting, just do a little layup, and they kind of did a layup where checked a lot of boxes, and it was good. I think the series could go in a lot of different directions. I think they need to take their time a little bit more. I felt like at times, especially the first half of the episode, felt very rushed from scene to scene, so I didn't have a chance to really take in what I saw. I agree with what Preston was saying at the beginning, where we start off with some words on the screen, which isn't necessarily the best place to start. On all cases, I think they could have shown us all we didn't need to know. It was 237 years from the time Daenerys was born. Like, I didn't need to know that information right there. But whatever. I thought it was okay. It was good. I agree with what you said in your review, Carmine. It was good. Didn't blow me away. Greatest thing I've ever seen in the world, but it was okay. It was good.
I was actually writing my review as Trey, Glidus, and Preston were going, and I think you'll agree with me, Phill, because Trey, have you seen Better Call Saul yet? Because I know Preston hasn't.
Oh yeah, I love that show.
Okay, then I think you and Phill will agree with me. The only show this year that's going to win the prequel wars is not House of the Dragon or Rings of Power. It's Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul was just, even its first season was fucking great. So I think Better Call Saul is the real winner of the prequel wars for 2022. So
it's the best prequel sequel thing since it's the most thing it's most comparable to is Godfather 2, where it could be argued that it is better than the original, but it also could be argued that the original is just a tighter package. But I think that's the best comparison. And Frasier cheers to a certain extent too. But I would say like Godfather to Godfather 2.
But that's the interesting thing about both Better Call Saul and Godfather 1 and 2 is that Godfather 2 makes itself both a sequel and a prequel.
Yeah.
As does Better Call Saul, though Better Call Saul is 95% prequel, 5% sequel. But the fact that there's an unknown element, like a sequel element, keeps viewers watching. Like, how is this going to affect that Saul that I saw at the mall? How does this information about Vito affect Michael going forward? I think had they entered how Carmine, you were talking about how the original ending for season 8 was that the White Walkers were still alive. Had they maybe had the White Walkers still alive in the teaser, and then being have some sort of really important information about it, some glyph, and then you go back in time and Viserys is dreaming about that glyph or something like that. We would have had they would have some more stakes. This is going to affect something that's kind of coming later, like the Jon Snow series or whatever,
Holy shit, that's how they bring in Snow. Oh my god, that's it. There it is.
Oh man.
They could have, but kind of already out of the toothpaste is already out of the tube,
We can put it in. It's okay.
I think what also made Better Call Saul so interesting is you knew kind of where Saul or Jimmy's endpoint was going to be. Kim wasn't there, but you didn't know exactly how she disappeared or what happened to her, and so that kept people kind of engaged, I think, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Preston, by the end, I would say it went from 5% sequel, and this is a slight spoiler, but not any information about what actually happens, to the last season, the last few episodes. It was complete sequel. The last few episodes, it was 13 episodes. Episode 9 or 10 sort of ended the prequel aspect, and then 10 through 13 were sequel territory in the final episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the real weaknesses of a prequel is that we kind of we know where everything ends up. What are the stakes? Oh my gosh, there's this succession crisis, and what happens? We the dragons die, but it's okay because they're reborn. You know, the Targaryens are eventually get kicked out, but you know they're brought back. So, what are the stakes? Like, why should I really care that that Rhaenyra is the heir versus Daemon? So it's got that problem. But yeah, I guess I would have been cheap. I would have like brought the White Walkers back, had a glyph or something, and have Viserys like dreaming about that glyph.
This is great. I'm gonna put this in my review. This is fucking phenomenal. Yeah, that's a great idea. They really should. It's just fucking beautiful.
Do you think we're gonna see? Is this show, because we got that comment in it? Will we see a White Walker in this show? Someone asked this in my stream. Will we ever see? Will they get that fan? Will they get Enterprise? You know, when Enterprise eventually got to the point where they brought in Cardassians in the Ferengi, even though they had no business in that time. Will we get a point where we just go north for no reason and see a White Walker at some point in the series, Preston? Do you think we'll see that?
They may get that desperate. It's funny when you said like, will they bring in Cardassians? And it's been so long that I for a minute I was like, will they bring in Kardashians? I was like,
guest appearance by the Cardassians.
Right, that my mind now goes to Kardashians before Cardassians. Considering like how big of a DS9 fan I was. I think I don't think this season we're going to get any of that. I think this season, it's already filmed, it's already planned out. I think what's probably going to happen is that they're going to see that the ratings are not as strong as they would have liked. These are my predictions. The ratings are not going to be as strong as they would have liked. They want to bring in all these other shows. They need more tie-ins, right? Mm-hmm. They already did. We already got Corlys and Nymeria getting mentioned. So we already have like a couple seeds. But if they really want a Jon Snow tie-in, which I think they're going to be putting a lot into Jon Snow. And you know we're gonna have to hear about that later. So maybe in season 2. Maybe in season 2, I could see them like the White Walkers make an appearance. Maybe this idea I had of like him dreaming of the White Walkers or something. But yeah, I mean, Enterprise did that, right? Like Enterprise started out, they're like, oh, let's let this show be its own thing. And it wasn't really doing that great. So they're like, fine. Okay. What if we throw in Andorians? And people are like, we don't fucking care about Andorians. Okay. Fine. Klingon was in the first episode, but let's give you the Borg. We'll give you the fucking Borg.
That's not working. Let's bring you Brent Spiner. You want Brent Spiner? We'll bring you Brent Spiner in a Nguyen Sung story with about data stuff. We'll do that too. You want that? You want it all in a simulation for Riker to enter?
Yeah, that's true. Fuck. You know, I never ended up watching the last season of Enterprise, and which everybody kept saying like the finale is like the worst piece of Trek ever, that I just didn't bother with it.
Basically, just spoiler alert for the end of Enterprise. The second to last episode, a big character dies, and then the next episode, it all ends up being a simulation that Riker's doing with Troy, and they're basically all of Enterprise was just them and watching a holodeck simulation of the situation to teach them something. It was basically the Saint Elsewhere ending.
Saint Elsewhere ending, yeah. But
wait, hold on a minute, because I'm only, for me, Deep Space Nine all day, every day. Yep. All of Enterprise was a dream or a simulation. It didn't happen.
It was a holodeck simulation put on by Riker.
But it happened. Why? But it was because they had really good records.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know why the records were keeping track of like Scott Bakula and T'Pol, like Archer and T'Pol, like putting goo on each other in decontamination chambers and stuff. Like, why was that needed for the history books? But
someone says it was just that episode, not
just that episode.
Maybe I was incorrect. Maybe it was just that's not how Enterprise is. Okay, people are yelling at me. That's not how Enterprise is. You're way off base, but
okay. Real quick, Todd in the Shadows has a podcast called Song versus Song, where he has the criteria of which song would you rather hear William Shatner cover. That's all songs you want to hear William Shatner cover. Todd in the Shadows is a pretty good channel.
I might need to hop off here. Is that okay?
I'm gonna probably wrap up in like 2 minutes too. But
okay.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna do this last super chat, and then I'm gonna say goodbye. But
sweet. Okay,
I've been on here 3 hours. So, do you the show will have Rhaenyra get eaten horribly, or will they clean it up because of the outrage of Dany's death? Same with Blood and Cheese. Based on this episode, it sounds like they're gonna go full shock. I mean, if this episode they're chopping balls and cutting Emma Aaron open, I think they're gonna show Rhaenyra getting eaten, or at least that's their plan now, and they're gonna have Blood and Cheese. So I think that's the plan. They're gonna go full frontal. But that's all for now. But I'd like to thank everybody that came in, that called in. Like, thank you. Glidus is gone, but thank you, Glidus. Thank you, Carmine. Thank you, Phill. Thank you, Trey.
Thank you.
And you guys are welcome. Anytime you want.
Awesome.
Anything else you guys want to talk about before I say goodbye?
I mean, I want someone to explain to me how I'm wrong about enterprise. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Thank you for having me, Preston.
Anytime. Hopefully you can jump on next week.
Oh, absolutely. I'll jump on after I do my short. I'm going to be doing like a shorter stream right afterwards, and then I'll jump on afterwards. Or
you can merge your streams like.
Dude, I could actually do that. I could call in from it and do a simulcast.
Cool. All right, man. Thank you, everyone. What an episode. All right, talk to you guys later.
See ya.